Hey, gals and guys, welcome to episode 27 of the Retro Movie Love podcast. My name is Michael Ferrari of Cinema to Meep, and joining me today is Ben Sher.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going, Ben?
It's going pretty well. I'm very excited to be here as always. I'm getting a little bit sick, so if I sound even loopier than I usually do, then all of you wonderful people out there in the dark will have to understand.
I've been sick, I feel like this entire winter, like everyone in this house, and there's a lot of people, it seems like lately, with family members coming in and out, and everyone has kids, and
Oh,
we've been like sick almost the entire winter, feels like, and that's why this podcast has been being pushed ahead, pushed aside because of that. It's just been crazy.
I know. When I told Jason I was getting sick, he was like, "You shouldn't go to bed late. You should cancel the podcast." I was like, literally, like I cannot cancel the podcast. I was like, unless I'm dead, like it cannot be canceled again ever.
Like this is a podcast that celebrates 20 years ago, and we just
We
could not get it together to actually do it 20 years later.
Yeah, we planned to do this originally in 1995 on a Walkman, and we've been talking about it since then. It's like
Totally.
the Vita movie.
Yes. So yes, our theme today is 1995, and last year now would have been the 20th anniversary, and we moved into January. So it's 21 almost. Well,
They
21.
do this for the Blu-ray companies do this all the time though. They're always releasing like the 25th anniversary on the 28th anniversary. So this is just like that.
We're just as guilty now. But we wanted to go to 1995 because of that, because it celebrates 20 years of 1995. Also because I feel like 1995 is kind of I think it's kind of an overlooked year. I feel like when people think of 1995, they think of like the big movies that were that year, like Braveheart, which won Best Picture, and they
Uh,
think of some of the more studio movies. But when I think about 1995, I think about all the little movies that I discovered, and a lot of them in the theaters, like at the Angelica, which I used to go to all the time in 1995, and on video at the video store where all the independent movies were coming out, and there was a lot of good independent movies that came out around this time period. So I just kind of wanted to highlight some of those movies, some of the mainstream movies as well, and I think we have a good mix of movies that actually came out then.
it's interesting because your list is very fair, unusually indie this time around, and mine is like more Hollywood. But it was interesting looking back at how many mid-budget movies, like mid-budget kind of adult-oriented or character-driven movies, were still coming out in from the mainstream studios. Then it's just unbelievable how quickly that stopped.
Yeah, 1995, I guess, was maybe a turning point. I don't know. I'm not as in love with some of the years that followed 1995.
No,
I'm sure we'll try to cover some of those years, but I'm not sure how far into the 90s I'm going to get with this podcast. But I wanted to get to 1995 because of for some of those reasons, and just to try to talk about some movies that we really liked, and hopefully we can share those with you soon. If you're not into 90s movies, we apologize. I feel like this podcast has been all about the 90s lately,
yeah.
but I feel like I kind of want to celebrate it, and I just this is probably the last 90s one for a little bit, so we'll get into 80s
And the
territory soon.
'90s are very en vogue right now, so hopefully this will get us that mainstream audience that we're
Totally.
courting, so that we could eventually get a show on TMZ.
I know I'm totally wearing grunge right now, and I'm watching MTV. And what are you doing?
Yes,
What are you doing
uh,
to
I,
celebrate '95?
I'm wearing Doc Martens, and I am looking at a promotional LP-sized photo picture of a Tori Amos album.
I'm thinking about all those many hours I spent watching Melrose Place in 1995, which I think was still
Now
going.
these places have been looming large in my life lately. We haven't been watching it, but people keep mentioning it. I guess it's because we were watching Modern Girls and some. There was some other. Was there somebody from Melrose Place and Hollywood Wives? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
It always looms large in one sense.
It also brings back memories of working in a movie theater, which I did in 1995.
Ah,
And I really enjoyed those days. So I got to watch certain movies over and over and over and over. I worked in the little box office. That's like one of those. They had one of those exterior box offices, and I
Uh-huh.
was in the little booth there. And it was actually the perfect job for the time, I gotta say, because I don't know, I just I got to take people's money, I got to give them a ticket. I love movie tickets, and I got to read a lot. I read a lot in that little booth, and just like countless novels, and I thought that was a lot of fun. And
What theater?
it was a theater called the Kingsway, the RKO. It was RKO, then it became Cineplex Odeon Kingsway in Brooklyn, and it
Was
was
it
like
still a one room movie theater or
it
one
was
house?
no, it was a long time ago before
Yeah.
even before I got there. It was, but it became a fiveplex,
Okay.
and they showed a lot of fun movies there. So I got to see a lot of I mean, mostly mainstream. It's almost all mainstream, but I got to see a lot of fun movies for free and a lot of good memories there. And I actually quit that job because they offered me a managerial position which I just thought wasn't going to be fun because I knew how stressed out the managers who worked there were,
Wow.
and it was basically like, we want you to do this job, and I'm like, I can't do it. I just don't want to do it.
I like that you were like, I'm not interested in upward mobility.
Exactly.
Surely there must be a video store that needs a clerk.
I was so '90s then. I was a slacker.
Yes. Phenomenally 90s.
Was living the slacker life, and I think, and then eventually in '96, later in '96, I found Kim's video. So,
Ah.
but it's fun. That was my job before. I think it was yeah, it was my job before Kim's video. So,
It was meant to be that you left. I am with you. I would pretty much rather be unemployed than have a managerial position. I'm just not a good manager. I think some people are, and I'm the opposite of those people.
also, another thing that I remember doing a lot in 1985 was hitting up Tower Video
Uh,
in like on Broadway in the Village, the
yes.
East Village. I was there all the time, and that around that time period, they just had such a great selection of like previously viewed movies on VHS.
Now, did they at that time have the upstairs like outlet where it was just literally wall to wall used VHS tapes?
Yeah, they had an outlet that they moved a block away, I believe. It was down. It was like a big space for it, I believe. If I'm not remembering this correctly, but it was a huge selection of of used merchandise, and of course I had to hit up the VHS, and man, I had I acquired a nice collection from Tower Video because a lot of them were priced down pretty low, and I got to get a lot of good independent movies and as well as other obscurities. So I was very happy going to Tower Video.
That's that. It might not. They might have changed look. It was on Broadway in the East Village, but the one that I went to where they sold all the used VHS tapes, it's like a happy place I still go to sometimes when I need to be at peace. I remember they had a Debbie Harry mural on the wall.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I got It's My Turn on VHS there, and I didn't get Mike's Murder on VHS there, which I regretted for a long time until I ordered the VHS from eBay. But I got a lot of other stuff there. It was just so great. That and there was a place on 14th Street, which I bet you remember, called Entertainment Outlet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I would go there and stock up, and then I was in college still, so I would then bring it back to my dorm and watch it. And it made me in the middle of the night. It made my booty. It made me so happy.
Entertainment Out was pretty awesome. I used to shop there a lot, and then when I was a buyer at Kim's Video, funny enough, because they got new releases so early there. I guess they had deals with studios, so they would get them really early. They would sell some to us, so we could put them out early.
That's how Kim's got stuff early. I remember literally jumping up and down when you got Mahogany a few days before it came out.
We wouldn't get everything from there. Just like most of the the bigger titles that we know we're going to sell a ton of copies of, but Kim's was not shy about putting out stuff early, even though it was kind of frowned upon. It wasn't really like against the law or anything. It was just like frowned upon against the suppliers to put it out early. So, we did, and we were kind of known for that. So, So people got to go to Kim's Video to get something really early. And
Entertainment Outlet is gone now, right? I went looking for it last time I was there and I couldn't find
I'm
it.
pretty sure they're gone like everywhere else now. So.
God, it's just barren wasteland of my dreams.
But that's why we relive our dreams through these podcasts and talk about movies from the 80s and even the 90s, because the 90s was such a wonderful time for us to talk about.
Now, do you? Well, we could talk more about our lives in the '90s later, but I personally find that I love '90s stuff now much more than I did then. Looking back, the things that we're talking about on the podcast today, like I did legitimately love all of these things, but I didn't realize that I was in the midst of like a really good pop culture year. Like I kind of felt like at the time, like in general, oh, pop culture's dead. Nothing will be the 80s or the 70s. And now I look back and that just wasn't true at all. But I guess that's always the way it is. You don't know what you have until you have something less in the future.
That's always the truth. I mean, I'm sure I appreciated some things about the 90s and winced at a lot of other things, like what was going on in the culture. I just couldn't connect to. But looking back now, yeah, I think I had a pretty good time. I mean, I was in 1995. I was 20. And I just had fun being in my 20s, and I just made sure I lived it up. I mean, lived it up at the video store, lived it up in theaters, but lived it up in the ways that I prefer. And of course, I look back now with a lot of just my heart is warm thinking about it.
My relationship with 1995 is complicated because I pretty much think of that as I think probably the worst year of my life.
Oh no!
I basically failed out of the public middle school. I didn't really, but I was heading in that direction. So my parents dragged me to a private school, kicking and screaming. Even though looking back, I was lucky I had that chance. And it was a fine school, but I did not do change well, and I had trouble making friends, and I felt lonely and sad, and the other bullshit that was going on in my town that ruined my childhood was at its peak. And my parents were, I don't know if they were always fighting, but I feel like I remember there was a lot of stress in the house then, and I think a lot of the stress in the house came partly because I was having such a hard time succeeding at life and everyone was worried about me. Mm-hmm. So alternately, that was like the worst time in my life that I would never go back to. But I saw like so many, the movies were as important as they were, more important than they ever were. And I saw tons of them. Like this is the first time when I was going through the IMDb and like checking what my favorite movies were that I was like, fuck, I saw like every one of these movies in the theater. Because my happy place, as I've said many times, my happy places were the video store and the mall. And at that time, the movie theater was in the mall. So I was literally there every weekend. I remember sometimes my mom and sister and I would go to kind of just get away from all the chaos. So I have a very intense emotional attachment to some of the movies on this list. And I saw some of them like a lot of times in the theater.
Yeah, I feel like I watched a lot of some of the, like, I mean, because I worked in a movie theater, I know I watched a lot of these over and over for some of those reasons, but I'm sure I just had to go back to certain things because I just loved them. All right, so let's get into our recently seen, and tell me what have you been watching lately.
I actually wrote a list this time, so I wouldn't be like, I don't know, I watched some old movie for my class. I've seen a lot in the last few weeks. A short list of them. Mm-hmm. As I've been talking about a lot on Facebook, I got the Hollywood Wives miniseries in 1985 for Chris McCa. And I had seen bits and pieces of it over the years, but it is it's probably my favorite miniseries ever. Like, the level of glamour in this movie is so high, and the cast is so over the top that I didn't even know what to do about it. So I'm sending Hollywood Wives love out to all of you. Go buy the DVD. I saw The Editor, which is kind of like a Neo Giallo recently released by Scream Factory, which is very good and very funny and really does kind of capture the Giallo feel. But it sends it up in a very affectionate, loving, wonderful way. And it references everything from Suspiria to Amarcord. So I was very into it. Men Don't Leave, we've been talking about the great Jessica Lange, single mother dramedy. Deadly Blessing, which I just got on Blu-ray, and this is a movie that I've often talked about as one of my least favorite Wes Craven movies, but watching it now, the first time I saw it, there had been a lot of hype, and the hype kind of ruined it for me. It took me 20 years to find a copy, but this time, not expecting as much, I loved it. And I
Yay!
loved how much it was just women sitting around in their pajamas, too. It was like either women sitting around in their pajamas or evil cultists or weird dream sequences. And I'm like, what else do I want? I watched Modern Girls of the Blu-ray, which was like seeing it
Yay!
for the first time. Such bliss, such an just nice. It's such my dream of what I want my LA life to be and what it's not. And I'm also kind of glad that it's not, even though I want it to be that.
I want every one of you out there to, if you like 80s movies, buy Modern Girls on Blu-ray.
The Blu-ray really is pretty revelatory because I'd only ever seen it on VHS tape, and it's just the mise en scène in that movie is rich. Every shot is just 80s explosion.
So it's the most 80s movie, likely. Yeah, I mean, so 80s. I love it.
You really should blind buy it. We need to support Kino Lorber in releasing these things. Then I saw some movies in the theater. I saw Krampus, which I thought was fun. I didn't love it, but I thought it was really, really pleasant and nice. And
I had the same experience. I liked it. I love it. I liked it. I thought it was a fun time.
Like, if it had come out in the 80s, it's probably a movie I would have on Blu-ray and be like, oh, why aren't movies like this coming out anymore? And I loved the killer gingerbread men and the cast. It was gorgeous. It was so nice to see a really beautifully shot horror movie.
I was a little afraid just because the trailer made it seem like a CGI fest, and it really, yes. I mean, there are definitely some CGI moments, but it's not. It's really well made, and Kindertrauma's review really sold me on it, and they absolutely loved it, and maybe on home video I'll love it even more. So we'll see.
I'm going to give a shout out to two of my favorite movie review websites, Kindertrauma and Eddie Ray Breaks That Shit Down. They, to me, are like the current Pauline Kael. Like, if I need to, I just hanker, or I need to know what they're going to say about the new movies when they come out. And if they love a movie, I will go see it. And if they don't, chances are I won't. And then if I hate a movie and Kindertrauma says that he loves it, I'll have to watch it again. And then usually I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And I don't think it's because I just slavishly worship the writers at Kindertrauma, Lance and John, although John doesn't write as much anymore. I think it's just because they're always right. And sometimes you just need to see.
I love them. It's my favorite website ever, I think. I just love them so much. I
also saw 45 Years. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I want to, though. It's on my list of movies to see.
Really phenomenal. It's phenomenal for all the reasons you'd expect. Andrew Hay is quickly becoming, maybe my second favorite director of character-driven movies after Nicole Holofcener. And then I don't know if we should even talk about it because it's like talking about politics at the dinner table. But I did, of course, see The Hateful Eight, which marks a rare time that Michael and I are having a sharp divergence of opinion.
Can you guess, guys, who loved it, who hated it?
We'll give you 5 seconds. Okay. Do you want to tell them?
I didn't hate it, but I really didn't. I was really disappointed by it, I should say.
And I loved it. I did love it. I wasn't sure that I loved it when I left the theater because I was like, that was so nihilistic and mean. Like, how can I like a movie like that? But I decided that I did love it because I really loved. A lot of people don't love that it was shot on 70 millimeter but took place in one room. I actually thought that was great because the cinematography was so phenomenal and it showed how much you could do in a small setting. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, we all know how much I love Little Miss Heart of Midnight, and seeing her just as this kind of.
I like that name for her, Little Miss Heart of Midnight.
I'm sure she'd be thrilled. I just loved seeing her, and I thought the N-word was used way too much, and I'm just so sick of Quentin Tarantino using that word excessively, and that, was a problem. But, I was riveted, and I love how much people are either loving or hating this movie. Like, people feel about it passionately, and I just appreciate that.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the love and the hate. I feel like I fall more in between because I felt like the movie had more promise at its running time, and I feel like more could have been done with it, and you could have said more with it, but I felt like It was characters talking in circles, Tarantino doing his usual shtick, and I'm not a fan of westerns too, so that took away from the experience. And I don't know. I wanted to like the actors more. I liked Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think, the most of everybody in the movie. I wasn't as impressed with most of the cast. So
I will say that I actually felt that way too. I wasn't the whole time. I wasn't. I was more like just blissed out at the cinematography, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I love Samuel L. Jackson and Kurt Russell so much in this. They were kind of doing what they usually do.
right.
I only felt that way about her.
Yeah, I felt like she had the strongest. I mean, definitely the strongest character, and I felt like she really put her heart into it as she usually does. So that's why we love her. Anything else you've seen?
No, that's all I can remember.
Besides that lovely movie, I saw Tangerine, which did you see that one?
Yeah, I loved it.
That was really good. I was kind of surprised by that. And I revisited Mistress America, and I love that. I still love that movie. It's one of my absolute favorite movies of the year. And my son is really into Home Alone.
Oh dear.
So I've been watching Home Alone a billion times, and I've been enjoying it. So it was well timed with Christmas coming, and
yes,
and Home Alone 2 not as much of a fan.
I watched that on VHS like 1,000 times, but I'm sure it's so bad.
Home Alone 2, it's basically a carbon copy of the first one, and just not as charming. It has some moments though. Teen Witch. My sister-in-law and my wife wanted me to put it on, and they were like, "Okay, you can go now." But I'm like, "No, I want to watch Teen Witch with you guys." I love Teen Witch, and they were just kind of like, "What?"
I loved. They were like, "You're ruining our all-girl slumber party."
I had to join in. And Drop Dead Fred, which was another one they requested. And I think I was the only one standing because they got busy doing other things, taking care of kids. And I love Drop Dead Fred. Still do. Creed I think I watched it maybe twice, like once in the theater and once again. And I liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was really well done and a good tribute to the Rocky character, and it'd be interesting to see where they go next with Creed 2.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that, and I'm pretty bummed. I want to see it.
I saw Spotlight, which I thought was one of the best films of the year. I thought that was really well done. Potentially could be very maudlin and completely... I mean, it is sad, and it does make you feel outraged, but I think the filmmakers... did a great job at making you really it was almost like a thriller. You're just really involved in the characters in their search to find the truth, and I was really into it. Don Verdian, which was a movie by the director of Napoleon Dynamite. I went direct to home video, I guess, and so. I mean, it had some moments, but it was kind of so. And Transparent season 2. Binge watched the entire season 2.
Yes, so did we.
And really good. I was really into it. And
so obsessed with it. And I'm so obsessed with the person who makes a cameo in the last episode. I won't say her name.
Yes. Know who you mean. The Harvest, which was a movie by John McNaughton, who did Henry and My Favorite Wild Things. A good thriller with Michael Shannon. I thought it was really well done. And
wait, did the same guy who did Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer do Wild Things?
Oh, yes.
I did not know that. I'm afraid to watch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I guess I should see it.
You should see it. It really will. I felt like it really, when I saw it, I was kind of young. It really kind of devastated me.
Yeah.
But really well done. The Harvest kind of feels like a 90s movie. Like someone else pointed it out to me, and I'm like, while watching it, I'm like, yeah, it does feel like a 90s movie to me. And it's like shot in like upstate New York, and it's very kind of a quiet movie. And maybe not a lot happens. Kind of a small character thriller or drama. And I really enjoyed it. Blood Rage on Blu-ray, which I know you have too.
Yes, I watched it.
What'd you think of Blood Rage?
I was just in ecstasy. I thought it was so. I watched both versions. I haven't watched the composite cut yet. I'll watch that next. But I thought it was such a blast. Oh my God, just the colors and the hair. And I love that it took place in a 70s condo because those are my favorite places in the whole world, like a 70s condominium or maybe early 80s condominium. It just had everything. And I love that they're showing The Bride on the drive-in screen because I'm obsessed with that movie too. And I didn't know it was even by the same director. I was in bliss. And of course, obviously, Louise Lasser's performance was riveting, but also the performance of the guy playing twins.
Yeah, he was good.
Jason and I, in 3 weeks, or in like 2 weeks, watched that, Sisters, and Hollywood Wives, and some other thing with twins. Like every single movie we were watching was about twins, and I was just like, what's going on? But that's kind of great.
If you like movies about condos or apartments, see The Toolbox Murders from 1977, 78.
Oh, yeah.
I think it might be. It's like, I guess, billed as a straight ahead slasher, but it's not really. It starts off like kind of a slasher movie for like the first like 20 minutes, half hour, then it kind of becomes something else. I think you'll like it. A lot of people don't like it because it becomes something more different than a slasher movie, but I know you will like it for that reason.
So how did you like the Blu-ray of Blood Rage?
I thought it was great. It looked great. I've always been a fan of Blood Rage. It's a super gory movie, and it's what a lot of slasher fans remember about it. I'm not sure if it was well loved over the years, but definitely remembered for a lot of its elements. I know Louise Lasser's performance definitely some people either love or hate.
Yeah,
and
it splits the fans.
It does split the fans, and I just love the crazy places she goes to. And the movie and the Blu-ray just does a great. It looks beautiful, and they did a really good job with it. I love the extras, so I'm so happy with it.
Oh God.
Okay.
The fact that a lot of slasher fans don't love Louise Lasser's performance like makes me realize how there are my kinds of slasher fans and slasher fans who aren't like me, because I'm like, how could you not like a performance that takes this slasher movie and makes it something completely unique and fascinating?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you really like it more if it, or I would still love it probably, even without her performance.
I don't think
that I would like it more, or even close to as much.
No, I think I would have been a bit. It would have been a bit more. I would have forgotten it a bit more. I'm sure. I know we talked about this like off the podcast, like how some slasher fans just don't really like some of those details, like in a certain movie that we heard on a podcast that we both love, and they just kind of didn't like it for the reasons that we love it, and we're just like, okay. I think some people are drawn to details, and some people aren't. I guess I don't know.
But it's good because it makes you reflect on hearing what people don't like about movies you love makes you reflect on what you do love about them.
That's true. So Blood Rage, we're happy to have you on Blu-ray. I also watched Joy, that
how was
David
that?
O. Russell movie, and I liked it. I didn't think it was one of the best films of the year. I think it's definitely a bit overrated. I thought she was decent, good. I don't think she should have won a Golden Globe, but I don't know. It just it was good until the ending. The last like 15 minutes of the movie kind of really peter out, and it just kind of ends in a not so great place. I feel like I don't know, either the editing wasn't so great, or I don't know, or they just kind of ran out of steam. But up until that point, I thought it was intriguing. I didn't know much about the real story of that person, so it was kind of fun seeing where she goes with that. The Martian, also fun, but again, another bit of an overrated Oscar movie. I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because I haven't been really into Ridley Scott movies, I guess for like a while now.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ridley Scott fans will hate me for saying that, because he has some pretty diehard fans. I thought Prometheus was kind of so-so. Again, yeah, okay. A movie that I did love, though, was I Smile Back.
I don't think I know. Oh, that was Sarah Silverman.
The Sarah Silverman
raving about
addiction movie. Yeah, that was really, really good. And it's a movie that could potentially be over the top and too sappy or whatever, but it hits the absolute right notes throughout the whole movie, and her performance is so great in it that I was just kind of left in awe of like the real places that the movie goes to, without ever feeling like it's an indie trying to feel real and in your face, like certain filmmakers do. And I just loved it. I mean, it's for me absolutely one of the best movies of the year. Loved it.
All right, I'll have to seek it out.
Steve Jobs, watched that. Again, mediocre. I thought it was no.
Like exactly what you were expecting.
Exactly what I expected it to be. I thought Kate Winslet was better than he was in the movie, and I liked seeing her. I actually didn't recognize her early on in the movie. I'm like, is that Kate Winslet? Yes, it is. And The Big Short. So I've been going through all the Oscar movies, and The Big Short was another surprise. A movie I thought, I'm not going to like this movie from seeing the trailer. A lot of like big actors wearing wigs look like in the trailer, which I'm not big on. And it's a lot better than I thought it would be. It's a really sharp movie. It's a really entertaining movie. And it's well performed. So I was really intrigued by the story and the filmmakers trying to give people a history lesson, but kind of spoon feeding them a bit with sugar to sugarcoat it a bit. And I thought they did a great job at balancing that, and that was very, very well done.
I was surprised. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that, because I was kind of afraid that the movie would just exasperate me and annoy me so much by telling me things I already know that I would just not be happy I saw it. But that makes me want to see it more.
Yeah, I mean, the movie does go over some of those points, but it kind of goes also behind the scenes and things I wasn't really aware of, and it just kind of gets you involved, and it does it in a way that's kind of not in a preachy Hollywood kind of like you have to do this, you have to know this because this is wrong, and
right
kind of way.
Like Concussion probably does.
I imagine like Concussion, yes, which is like the opposite kind of movie I want to watch. I never like to watch real stories and biographies because I just get kind of bored and or gets too depressed by them. But Big Short was a good balance of comedy and telling you how it is. So yeah, that's been what I've been watching, and we should get into 1995 as we know it. So let's do that. And before we do that, let's do a couple of top 10 lists from pals of the show. So here we do that. Brad Yasuda, who was very quick to send me his top 10 list. His number 10, which I feel like we're not going to be into, but is something to talk about. His note says Kyra Sedgwick was Oscar snubbed, in my opinion.
She was very good in this movie. She was like the only thing I really liked about it, but I did think she was very good in it.
I really don't remember the movie too well. I just remember not liking it when it came out. But I wasn't really into Julia Roberts. I think by that point I feel like she was making movies that I didn't want to see by then. Number 9, Richard III. Number 8 is a tie of Heat and Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. Number 7 is The Hunted. And the note says that train sequence is unparalleled in audacity. Number 6 is Empire Records, the director's cut. Number 5 is Seven. Number 4 is Toy Story. Number 3 is Citizen X. Number 2 is In the Mouth of Madness. And his number 1 is The Usual Suspects. And his honorable mentions go to Apollo 13, The City of Lost Children, Copycat, Dangerous Minds, Day of the Beast, Desperado, Dolores Claiborne, Ghost in the Shell, GoldenEye, Kiss of Death, The Quick and the Dead, Rob Roy, Screamers, Shanghai Triad, and Strange Days. Thank you, Brad.
There were a lot of seminal movies that year.
Yeah, definitely. Meat Hook Cinema. His number 10 is Desperado. His number 9 is Day of the Beast. His number 8 is Safe. His number 7 is Stonewall. His number 6 is In the Mouth of Madness. His number 5 is Jade. His number 4 is La Haine. His number 3 is The Celluloid Closet. His number 2 is Showgirls. And his number 1 is Muriel's Wedding. And his note, it says, thanks for asking for my list. Loving your podcast. Take care,
I have
son.
to say in response to that that I'm so glad he brought up that The Celluloid Closet and Stonewall were from this year because somehow I missed it. And I'm almost glad that I did because then my whole list would be like 90s gay independent cinema. But those movies are so, so very important to me. And that Stonewall from 1995 is one of the most underrated movies ever.
the
Sorry, should I not be commenting on all the list?
No, the real Stonewall, not the one that came out last year.
No,
The,
no,
the,
not the not the homophobic one. Oops, not the Roland Emmerich one. Freudian slip.
yes. And our pal Amanda Reyes, she just has a couple of notes. Castle Freak and The Prophecy were two movies I really loved. Was 1995 when Showgirls came out? Blew my mind. Okay, so let's get into our lists. And do you want to talk about your runners-up? And then we'll get into your 6 through 10.
Yes, my runners up. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but The Bridges of Madison County, even though I only saw it this year, I loved it. The Net, iconic in its glorious badness, love it, love it. Dangerous Minds, in which Michelle Pfeiffer inspired me as a teacher by telling me that all I need to do is like put on a leather jacket, and then suddenly I'll be tough and able to like conquer all difficult students. Clockers, probably a much less racist film than Dangerous Minds. Tu Wong Fu,
Oh, I love Two
which
on
I
Foot.
didn't like nearly as much as Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, but I still liked it, and I loved Stockard Channing. Empire Records, Showgirls, of course. I'm almost sick of talking about it. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I really liked the theatrical cut in 1996. I haven't seen it since then. I just watched the producer's cut recently, and I think I might have liked the theatrical cut more. I know that's terrible to say. Mighty Aphrodite, to me, Woody Allen's last great film. Is that true? Yeah, I mean, I like Midnight in Paris. I like Vicky Cristina Barcelona, but to me, that's the last great, especially the last great New York Woody Allen film. Mira Sorvino, classic. And another classic Oscar tragedy who like disappeared after she won the Oscar, except for Romy and Michelle. The American President. This is like the only movie where I think Michael Douglas is legitimately sexy, and my mom and I went to see this movie like 3 times, and I loved it. So romantic. Nick of Time, the movie where I think Johnny Depp is the most attractive that he has ever been or ever was. I like clean-cut, suit-wearing, preppy Johnny Depp. Yes, yes, yes. He's like who Glenn would have grown up to be if he had not been sucked into a bed. Toy Story, yeah, loved it, whatever, who cares. Sense and Sensibility, same thing. But I thought, actually, no. Sense and Sensibility I avoided and thought it was going to be boring in 1995, and then I saw it a decade later and thought it was amazing. Father of the Bride 2, I love that whole series. I Can't Help Myself. It's charming. Waiting to Exhale, I was disappointed with because I anticipated it so highly and I loved the book, but now when I watch it, I love it and I think it's great. Four Rooms, I mean, really disappointed in that when it came out, except for Alison Anders' sequence with Madonna and Marissa Tomei as sexy witches. And I liked the part with the evil children with the prostitute in the bed. But overall, not so great. And this was when I really started to know that Quentin Tarantino was annoying, even though I still love almost all of his movies. The Maddening, I'm the only person on earth who likes it.
I like that one too.
But you like it too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Angie Dickinson, Burt Reynolds. Who is the lead lady in it?
Mia Sarah? I could be wrong.
That's a Sloane after Ferris Bueller's Day Off got herself in some muddy waters. I thought it was a fun thriller. I liked it. Billy Madison. I revolted against this movie when it came out. I was like, this is for fools. I am not a fool. I have no use for it. And then for some reason they showed it to us in school. I don't remember why. And everyone had already seen it 100 times. So I was the only one who was like laughing until I cried the whole time. And it was embarrassing, but fabulous. And I guess, did I say, oh yeah, Showgirls is on here twice. See, I'm so sick of it and I don't want to talk about it, but I still have to put it on twice. Also, this is the first year where a series of really influential movies came out that I hated. So I want to note those. Sorry, I know this is about the love, but I feel the need to speak to have my voice be heard.
Go for it.
The Usual Suspects, I hate this movie. I hate it. I hate it so much. I didn't see it in 1995 because I didn't care. I watched it in my first ever graduate school class, and I just thought it was the most boring movie ever, and it started so many trends that I hate. I hate extremely overplotted movies that don't make sense. I hate ugly movies. I hate the movies that are all about the men exercising their masculinity. I hate it. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm going to offend a lot of people on this out there, and I love all of
Just made
you,
a
but
few top 10 lists, so it's
I'm
okay.
sure, and you're all right. I probably am too stupid for it or something, but I really didn't like this movie.
I'm going to join you. I don't hate it, but I do think it's overrated. Personally.
Thank you.
I think I liked it more when it first came out, and then when I watched it again on video, I just like, especially those movies that have surprise gotcha endings.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think they hold up, and I wasn't as impressed with that movie. But.
I cannot think of any gotcha endings that I truly love, except for maybe the end of the others. But that's not even doesn't feel like a gotcha ending to me. And
No,
The
yeah.
Usual Suspects one, by the time the gotcha ending came, I was like, oh, you're gotchaing me about something I never gave a shit about to begin with. Heavyweights. Do you remember this movie about kids?
Yeah.
Fat Cab. I was an overweight kid in 1995, and my mom rented it.
It's hard to believe that you were overweight because you're so skinny.
Well, I appreciate that, but I was very overweight and made fun of for it frequently. And I probably like the movie now, but then it really triggered me. I felt like it was kind of condescending, and I think it probably just hit way too close to home. But it bothered me. But I guess it means well. I mean, I'd rather that than most of the fat phobic humor that we do see. Unfortunately, something to talk about is on my list of movies I hate from 1995, because this to me was the beginning of Julia Roberts making movies that I really didn't like. And the thing is, I wanted to like it so much because the premise was great. You know how I love a movie about a woman finding herself after her husband leaves her. And it was just bored the shit out of me. But I did love Keira Sedgwick, so I rented this a few years later, and by which I mean 20, because or 25. What years? It's been 20 years since
20 years, yeah.
I rented it last year on Netflix, expecting I would love it now, and that I was wrong, and I wasn't. It's all about horses, and nothing happens, and it's super boring.
Was that directed by Lasse Hallström?
I think it might have actually been direct. It was certainly written by Callie Curry, who wrote the brilliant Thelma and Louise. I don't know if she also directed it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. It seemed like a Lasse Hallström kind of movie to me.
What else did she direct?
I don't know I actually don't know what she's directed. Lasse Hallström directed My Life as a Dog, but he also has made stuff like The Cider House Rules and really sappy stuff. So.
Yeah, sappy, kind of bloated. I mean, I thought The Cider House Rules was okay, but I could totally see how you would say that. I just have two more. Sorry, this litany of hate is going longer than I intended. This is going to get me more enemies. Seven. I hated Seven. And this is another movie that I hate more because it was so influential. This is the first movie I remember where everything was gray and green and just mud. And I think this and The Matrix really kind of created that thing where everything had to be green or everything had to be blue or yellow. And that's what I remember the most. Other than that, I was really, really bored and not impressed. But that's a movie I should see again, because I think I confess, I only made it halfway through. And I guess, I never got to see Gwyneth's head in the box or whatever. So maybe I should rent it. What are your thoughts on Seven?
Seven, besides a movie that's been a lot of top 10 lists. I think I liked Seven when it came out, but I really just don't want to watch that movie ever. Again, for some of the reasons that you mentioned, that it's so ugly. I know it, and it's also praised for its style at the same time, which drives me nuts. And
exactly.
And
oh my god, it's so ugly. I love it. I mean, whatever. I don't want to insult people because I'm sure that I think things that people think are ugly are beautiful.
Yeah,
too.
I don't like movies that are. I love movies that embrace their environment, and Seven's the anti-embracing their environment, where it's rainy, you can't see anything, it's raining all the time, and it's set in a town that could be anywhere USA, and it's I just don't want to watch this movie. I don't want to watch Brad Pitt eating all the time, and Morgan Freeman, with his speeches. And there's nothing in Seven that really draws me.
Did you say Brad Pitt eating all the time?
I think it's a thing where Brad Pitt is eating in every scene in the movie.
That's so funny that you say that because all I remember of that movie, other than that it was raining and everything was gray and brown, was that Brad Pitt and the guy who ate a million cans of beans was that Brad Pitt was like always at a dinner table eating, and I
Yeah,
was like, this is so boring to me.
right. It's like actors and directors like, oh, what if I like ate in every scene? What do you think about that? And like the
Just like
director's
how
like,
Jessica Lange has it in our contract that she has to smoke in every scene in every movie. But
uh,
that I mean, I could watch Jessica Lange smoke forever, and I would never be bored.
right. I don't know. I just yeah, it's not my kind of movie. There's a thriller from 1995 that we'll talk about today that I loved much more and very similar movies. So
And that's the other thing. I think I know what thriller you're talking about, and I loved that movie, and that got so much less hype than Seven, and that annoyed me too. And shocker, that one had two strong women characters, and Seven had two strong men characters. I wonder if there's some alignment there of what was more popular and praised. Then the last one, Jumanji, which I know a lot of people I know love, and I loved the book, and I just remember finding the movie really loud and grating and exhausting.
I kind of like Jumanji.
I know. I think I knew you did.
I do like Jumanji. I gotta say. I like Joe Johnston as a director. I don't know. He's made some fun kind of movies. So he also made a kind of a thriller horror movie from a couple years ago called
What movie?
It's called Not Safe for Work. So maybe his career didn't go where he wanted to with the big movies he makes, and he made like kind of like a small thriller that you should check out. It's called Not Safe for Work.
I will.
It's
Do you
fun.
remember the other big movies he made?
He made Jurassic Park 3. He made October Sky, and there's a couple like I want to say he did Joe Johnston. He made like a really big tentpole movie besides Jurassic Park.
I actually loved Jurassic.
Liking on it.
I think that movie. I think I like Jurassic Park 3 more than Jurassic Park 1.
Whoa, really?
I know. I'm making all sorts of friends today. I just remember being really into it in the theater.
I think it for me. I wasn't so into part 2 because like a big chunk of part 2 is like the game hunters sequences, and I think they're just really long, and it makes the movie kind of boring to me. Sorry, Steven Spielberg, but I thought 3 was a bit because it's like a more tighter pace. It's like a 90-something minute movie or 100-minute movie, whereas the second one felt like it was forever. So I thought, and I know it's like a couple bickering amongst dinosaurs movie, and I kind of like those kinds of movies. It reminds me of older kind of screwball movies, so that was fun. All right.
So shall we now get to our traditional lists?
Yeah, you can go into your 10 through 6, and then I'll do my my honorable mentions and so on.
Okay, great. Number 10, I think we're going to be talking about this more, but it's a tie between Copycat and Dunstan Checks In because they're so similar. And I mainly put Dunstan Checks In on the list because I love the scene where Faye Dunaway falls into a cake so much, but I recently rewatched it, and actually even the scenes without Faye Dunaway are totally charming and fun, and I love it. And I'm sure that a lot of people also feel that The Usual Suspects is terrible, but Dunstan Checks In is one of the greatest movies of the year. Number 9, To Die For. Nicole Kidman kills it, and I always think of a scene where George Segal says to her, if you want, and me talking about being a TV anchor woman, if you want it, you'll get it, but you have to really, really want it. And whenever I'm striving for something, I think to myself, do you really, really want it? And actually, a lot of the time, I'm like, no, not that much. Very 90s of me to say. Number 8, another tie between Mallrats and Now and Then. Mallrats, I laughed my ass off. I was obsessed with Priscilla Barnes as the psychic with 3 nipples, whose third nipple was the source of her psychic powers. I just wanted to be like her so much. Love Shannon Doherty. I just love that it takes place at a mall, but I haven't seen it since it came out.
I watched that movie a lot when it came out.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know what was. I guess maybe because it was a mall, right? I mean, just like people hang out in the mall. Like,
have you? And that's one of the few movies that's like a '90s mall, so it was like looked like the mall that I was at that time.
Right?
Have you seen it recently?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but in the '90s, I feel like I watched a ton.
I wonder if it holds up. I had a crush on there was like the prettier one and then like the goofier one. I liked the pretty one. Now and Then, I think I saw Now and Then in the theater like 3 times, and I was just obsessed with the fact that it was about girls, and it was about the 70s, and they watched Love Story at a drive-in, and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls was playing at the local theater. Even then, I was drawn to Gabby Hoffman, and I thought that she had a very interesting, quirky charm. I felt that way about Thora Birch, too. They were, I think, the less big stars when that movie came out. Christina Ricci was kind of the big one, and I loved her. And I love that they both grew into these just fabulous, neurotic, crazy people who are just great. Love them. And I haven't seen that movie in a million years. I'd love to see it again.
Doesn't Christina Ricci's character grows up to be Rosie O'Donnell?
Yes,
That's
totally.
interesting casting.
Yeah, I know. People always say that like it was so wrong, but for some reason I could sort of imagine it. I wonder what they feel like now that they didn't grow up into Demi Moore and whatever, if they're disappointed or happy or whatever. Number 7, Dolores Claiborne, another phenomenal Jennifer Jason Leigh Suffers movie, because every Jennifer Jason Leigh movie is a phenomenal Jennifer Jason Leigh Suffers movie. This is a great movie about abuse and trauma and the anger that misogyny and a bad marriage will just create in the people in the family. Gorgeously filmed. It was directed by a great director, and I forget who it is.
Taylor Hackford directed.
It was Taylor Hackford, right, who directed the beautiful Against All Odds, which I'm the only one who likes.
Dolores Claiborne is one of the ones that played in the theater when I worked there, and I watched it all the time. And I sat through the whole thing.
Did you just watch it because it was there?
Because it played there, and just because I was just really into watching it. I thought it was great.
I regret that I did not see this movie in the theater. It has some of the all-time best lines of the 90s, like, sometimes being a bitch is all a woman's got to hold on to, and in accident, Dolores can be an angry woman's greatest friend. I just think these things all the time in my life. So, and Kathy Bates, as good as she was in Misery, I mean, phenomenal performance. And my last one is Unzipped, the great Isaac Mizrahi documentary.
I haven't seen that one in a while, but I remember really liking it when it came out, too.
It holds up phenomenally. It really just makes you want to be creative. And then there are also clips from Valley of the Dolls and Sandra Bernhard cameos. It's everything you could ever want from a movie.
It's on Netflix Instant, so...
Oh, it is? Oh, that's great.
Go check it out. For me, my honorable mentions, you mentioned this one, Maddie Aphrodite, loved it. I thought she was hilarious in the movie. And her Oscar was well deserved. I know some people didn't think that at the time.
Oh, blah.
Same thing for Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny. I thought her Oscar was well deserved. Why can't people in comedy win Oscars? I don't understand why. Why do we scold them for that? But
we award suffering and not joy.
Exactly. Carrington. One of the many 95 independent movies that I saw that year in the theater, and I loved it. I thought Emma Thompson was better in Carrington than she was in Sense. I thought she was I think she was definitely miscast in Sense and Sensibility, because she was playing a character who was 17, I think, in the book, which I really loved that book growing up. And I thought she was great in Carrington, and I really liked it. Double Happiness, charming Canadian movie with Sandra Oh. I really liked her, fell in love with her in that movie. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out, Ben. When Night is Falling, excellent, another Canadian film. This one a Canadian lesbian film. Really good movie. Really liked it. Couple of sequels. Die Hard 3 and Under Siege 2. Definitely a lot of fun, and gave me all I needed action-wise in 1995. Hideaway, that serial killer movie with Jeff Goldblum and Christine Lottie. Where he has this psychic connection to a killer. Really a lot of fun. It's very 95, has a lot of 95 special effects in it. Alicia Silverstone co-stars. 2 vampire movies from 95, The Addiction and Nadja. Love those movies, especially The Addiction, which is still not on and was never released on DVD. I think Universal may own the rights, and they just don't care about it. So that really needs to be. Actually, there were 3 vampire movies in 95 that I loved: Addiction, Nadja, and Habit. All great movies. You mentioned To Die For. I really like that as well. The Brothers McMullen. I was one of those people who liked that movie. Tu Wong Fu. Circle of Friends.
Love that.
Really loved it. My wife really loves it, and she was surprised that I was a fan as well. Castle Freak. Stuart Gordon film. A lot of fun, crazy movie. The Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls in Love. I thought that was really good. I liked Heat, the movie, the Michael Mann movie. I think that was really well done. Long movie, but I thought it was...
Yeah, I love Heat too, actually.
I thought it was really well done. I was one of those movies, I don't think I'm going to like this movie, but I ended up getting into it.
Me too.
Beyond Rangoon with Patricia Arquette. I think it was directed by John Boorman. That was a well done movie. I thought it was good. The Sum of Us with, I think that was an early Russell Crowe movie. That was really good. Australian movie. Really good. There's this quirky movie with Jason Priestley called Cold Blooded. Have you seen that?
No.
Check it out. I think you'll really like it. He plays a hitman who's kind of very, cold-blooded, but he is very charming at the same time.
Oh, love it.
Because he has this kind of blankness to him but then he kind of wants to be someone who's more personable. Mute Witness, horror movie, thriller from 95 that I really liked. It kind of is a slasher movie for most of it, and then it kind of changes into a bit more of a political thriller. It's interesting that it changes, and I like that about it, and it's very well done. You mentioned Mallrats, love that. Empire Records, of course, loved it. I'm sure I'll talk about it in a 90s teen movie podcast. Sabrina, the remake. I actually like Sabrina, the remake. So
I think I don't really like the original or the remake, but I did have a big crush on Greg Kinnear.
I didn't like the original at all. I thought it was really poorly cast.
Yeah.
With what's-his-face, Humphrey Bogart as a romantic lead. And, can't quite see it with his huge head and little shoulders. The Net. Again, cheesy movie that I think is fun. And Sandra Bullock is darn likable. We'll be talking about her soon. Assassins, the Sylvester Stallone, Antonio Banderas movie. That was a movie that was really disliked by people. I don't know. I really thought it was good.
All I remember is that Julianne Moore was in it, and she had a perm, and I loved it.
She's great. She's kind of great in the movie. She's a cat lady in it. She loves cats. So.
Oh, I should see that again.
You should see it again. It's like two guys trying to chase each other and kill each other for the whole movie, and she kind of gets in the middle, and I think it's fun. Welcome to the Dollhouse, of course. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I remember really liking it. Persuasion.
That's one that, to Welcome to the Dollhouse, like Heavyweights, hit too hard for me at that time. It hit too close to home, so I just couldn't like it, but I'd love to watch it again now.
What was that? Kiss of Death. The Doom Generation. I'm going to just go this list quickly. Doom Generation, Little Odessa, Kicking and Screaming, Bridges of Madison County, The Underneath, Last Summer in the Hamptons, two chick flicks that I liked, Boys on the Side and Moonlight and Valentino, Sudden Death, I think the best Van Damme movie, maybe, Rob Roy, Living in Oblivion, Clean Shaven, Sister My Sister, Nico Icon, Unzipped, Priest, Angels and Insects, Kids, Angus, Denise Calls Up, Devil in a Blue Dress, Fallen Angels, Jack and Sarah, Sweet Nothing, Shallow Grave, Once Were Warriors, Wild Reeds, The Wife, Angela, Frisk, Last Supper. A lot of 95 movies, and a lot of movie titles that might not ring any bells, because I saw a lot of friggin' movies in 1995, and a lot of them were little movies like that, so I really liked a lot of them, so... I think 95 is a year you kind of have to dig and find stuff. That's kind of how it is.
The Last Supper, that's a movie that I kind of always thought being in my 20s would be like living like those people and like a charming, place where the rent probably wasn't very expensive, being a liberal and listening to 10,000 Maniacs.
Right. And killing people too, right?
Well, maybe not that so much. Although, they were trying to be honorable at the beginning. That would be a good double feature with Shallow Grave.
That's true. I haven't seen Shallow Grave but I remember liking it. I might not like it as much, but...
Yeah, I watched that 100 times, too, on VHS tape.
All right, so let's get into your number 5. Here's the trailer.
Jerry, I'm not working Christmas.
But Lucy, you're the only one.
About family.
For Lucy, loneliness was a way of life.
Joe Jr.'s still single.
Yeah, it's a shocker.
But the moment she saw Peter, she became a believer in love at first sight.
He was perfect.
Then fate stepped in.
Mister! There's a train coming! Oh, God, you smell good.
Now she's part of his life.
He's in a coma.
Oh, I was gonna marry him.
Who's she?
She's his fiancée. No. Peter's engaged.
Part of his family.
So glad he found you!
You haven't met Jack yet.
It's funny, my brother never mentioned you. Which one of the three Stooges was Peter's favorite?
Curly.
Curly! Ha! He's everybody's favorite. Fact is, you're not really Peter's type.
Whose type am I?
I like blondes.
You like brunettes.
What can I say, Peter? I was never envious of anything that you had until now.
You have to tell me what to do. I like Jack.
Pull the plug.
You're sick.
I'm sick. You're cheating on a vegetable.
Caravan Pictures presents Sandra Bullock
These are your husband's things.
Not my husband!
Your fiancé.
He's awake.
in a film about love at second sight.
Who are you?
While you were sleeping.
Oh, what can you say about While You Were Sleeping that hasn't already been felt by the entire world, except for those fools who didn't get on the Sandra Bullock train? I'm trying to think. I might have even seen this before Speed, because I didn't see Speed in the theater. I don't know. I saw Speed as soon as it came out on VHS tape, so I might have seen these practically concurrently, but I just thought Sandra Bullock was so adorable. I mean, I ate her up, and my mom and I both loved this movie, and we watched it in the theater 3 or 4 times. As usual, I did not have a crush on the man who everybody had a crush on, which was Bill Pullman. I thought that Peter Gallagher was much more attractive because he was a yuppie and wore a big overcoat, and, I just like those things. And I mean, come on, Peter Gallagher is super, super hot. But now I think Bill Pullman's okay, too. And my mom felt the same way. I remember we were both very upwardly mobile. I don't know what to say. I mean, I remember that the family was really good and really quirky. There were a few phenomenal kind of character actors. I don't remember who played them, but there were some good old Hollywood actors in there, and it was just like, it was really like a warm cup of hot cocoa. If like Pretty Woman was like the greatest kind of high glamour romantic comedy, this was like the greatest like down home in the suburbs romantic comedy. And I have not seen it since then, but I'm sure I would love it, and I'd like to see it again. What about you?
I actually covered this movie on the Hollywood Pictures podcast, funny enough.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm not going to bore you guys with my love for it. I have a feeling it's definitely a movie that's kind of more cynical people might not like or appreciate, especially because it was so popular and it still continues to be popular. It's like
so popular.
It was like when I looked up Hollywood Pictures on Netflix, it was like the only Hollywood Pictures movie of all the Hollywood Pictures movies that's on Netflix. So
wow.
It was definitely, and it was also one of their biggest hits, and I think just everyone just kind of likes it, or it's considered a very fluffy kind of a charming romantic comedy, and people who are not into romantic comedies will just wince with pain, and I understand and I feel your pain if you're not into those kinds of movies.
It's more of a chick flick than like any other chick flick ever made.
Right. So it's so chick flick, and I don't know, because it goes those places, and I do like those movies when they're well done. I think it has to have a performance in it that I like. I mean, I could overlook a weak script in a chick flick, but I have to really connect with the main character. I feel like I have to like this person. And I do, and I really love her, and I love. I talk about this all the time in this podcast. How I love movies where a character's pretending to be someone else, and this movie fits that bill perfectly. And I just think she charmed my pants off when I saw Speed in the theater, and she continues to. I think I thought she was really good, and even in Gravity recently, so I like her.
I loved Gravity. I thought it was great. I know they got a backlash, but I really had no complaints.
Yeah, I think Gravity is a much better movie than The Revenant or Birdman or something, so anyway. Okay, so my number 5, here's the trailer.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all.
Whatever he writes.
Did I ever tell you my favorite color was blue?
Whatever he imagines.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his less stable readers.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
Whatever he thinks.
For years, I thought I was making all this up.
Becomes real.
It's about people turning into things. We need to read the new book to find the way out.
Now, John Carpenter brings you the best film of his career.
This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
A little spread with each new reader, that's how it gets its power.
Likes the book?
Love it. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
Okay, that's the trailer for In the Mouth of Madness, the John Carpenter movie. Arguably his last good movie, you could say. I don't know. I like some of the ones that came after it, but I really liked In the Mouth of Madness when it came out. I felt like it fit very nicely into his canon of films. I think it's like the third in his trilogy of his so-called apocalyptic trilogy. With The Thing and Prince of Darkness and this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I like movies about people going crazy. And it's like, I like that the central character is about someone going crazy slowly because of everything that's happening. And you kind of put into his shoes and he's played by a very charismatic actor, Sam Neill. I think crucial to this movie is the casting, and if you put an actor here who's not so charming and not so puts a lot of wit and personality behind the role, you would just not care where they go. So much like Kurt Russell in The Thing, I think you really like Sam Neill in this movie. I think he's kind of has a sense of humor about himself throughout the movie, and I just really relate to him, and I like that it's kind of a gothic horror movie, and there's some things with it about I don't like the casting of the villain of the movie. I forgot who played him. Was it Jürgen Prochnow?
I do not remember that there even was a villain in the movie.
Yeah, I guess he represents the evilness, and he plays the Stephen King like writer who kind of unleashes this kind of hell on earth. And I don't know, when it gets to those scenes, I'm not as interested with when it's Jürgen Prochnow just looking evil. I don't know. Maybe Stephen King himself in the movie, that would have been kind of interesting.
No, wait a minute. I haven't seen the movie in a few years. Wasn't Sam Neill the Stephen King stand-in?
No, Sam Neill plays like almost like an insurance investigator who kind of follows up on false claims. Like I think this book company who does the Stephen King like writers books basically is following up on his disappearance, and he trying to track him down in a small New England town, and where he's unleashing evil, and all his fans are turning against everyone and killing people. So. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. He's great, and Sam Neill was also one of the best things about Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Did you see that John Carpenter movie?
No, I never did.
Yeah, kind of definitely a lesser John Carpenter movie, and he was great in that, so I'm glad he cast him again. It was written by Michael De Luca, who was the former head honcho of New Line, and then he became the head honcho over DreamWorks, and now it's Sony, so he's like studio hopping and a big deal, but I think he was a real big horror fan at the time, and
nice.
And I don't know, some witty things in the movie, and I tend to watch this one. I watched this one about a couple of years ago, 3 years ago at the theater, at the BAM theater on 35 millimeter, and it was great seeing it in the theater because when I saw it when it originally came out, and I remember the audience not being into it, it kind of fell flat. I know I saw it with my sister and her boyfriend at the time, and they weren't into it, and it just seemed like generally the audience wasn't into it. It didn't do very well. I think it grossed like $9 million at the box office. But seeing it on 35 millimeter like a few years ago, I just the audience of fans just really ate it up and were really into it, and they were very respectful and weren't like talking during the movie. They were just kind of into the movie. I love the heavy influence of H.P. Lovecraft in this movie. John Carpenter is a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft, and he showed it in some other movies like Prince of Darkness and a couple of little bits and other things. But he really is full on H.P. Lovecraft here, and it's kind of fun to see. What are your thoughts?
I'm having major deja vu. We must have talked about this on our own at some point, because I remember talking about it with you. I only saw it recently, and I really loved it for about 45 minutes. I was really into how much it was about like the publishing industry in New York in the late 80s, early 90s. I thought Sam Neill was great. I was obsessed with that town that he goes to, and I really I love the kind of Stephen King towns, of course. And I thought that concept of him getting lost in that town was totally brilliant, and the creepy inn. And that first scene with the fan with an axe at the restaurant, is an incredible, brilliant, chilling scene. And then I think I had the same problem with you. I remember that as he started to go really crazy at the end and met the author, it just really got real boring for me. It almost, and just kind of tired. It's funny. It almost feels like the scene with Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, but even although I actually think those scenes are really good, but it's almost like a really weak version of it.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely.
So that was a shame for me, but it's totally, it's worth it for the great parts, and I bet I would have a really good time seeing it in the theater too.
I think when you talk up a character so much and build them up so much, and then you introduce them like so late into a movie, and then they're just not impressive, then you're just kind of like, oh.
What was that all for?
But I don't know. I think the movie does take a turn after that, and then it becomes kind of creepy and fun at the end, especially. I love the music in this movie a lot. John Carpenter just really rocking it out, and I'm sure we'll have music on the podcast here if we haven't already. And I don't know. For me, it works. I think it works more on multiple viewings. I feel like that's where more of the details come out a bit better, and I just get into it every time I watch it. So, so I'm glad I could talk about it a little bit here. I just think it's a kind of it's not as well thought of John Carpenter movie, but I like it a lot. All right, so let's get into your number 4.
Jeffrey, you are being ridiculous.
Can you tell if you're having a nervous breakdown?
This sex thing has got completely out of hand.
Dad, I've stopped having sex.
Jeff stopped having sex.
No sex.
My dear, what you need is a relationship.
A relationship?
And shoes.
Steve.
Jeffrey?
Jeff. If you had a boyfriend, then you could relax.
How about phone sex?
What?
Jeffrey, you're beginning to have a problem.
Oh, Fred, let's help him out. Sweetheart, what are you wearing?
Jeffrey, listen to reason.
Dad, I'm not going to have phone sex with you and Mom.
Jeffrey!
From the first second I saw you, I fantasized about you, letting you do things to me that I have only permitted with 5,000 other men.
I mean, Jeffrey, it's just sex.
You know, in a better world, I could ask you to square dance.
Oh, look, a wholesome gay couple.
Of course life sucks. It always will, so why not make the most of it? How dare you not lunge for any shred of happiness?
How about tomorrow night?
I'm working till 10.
Afterwards.
Well,
Oh, come on. You're gay, you're single.
It isn't pretty.
yes. Yes!
Table for 2?
It's my decision. I get to be Jeffrey.
Oh,
What do you want?
Jewelry.
I'm telling you, the only times I really feel the presence of God are when I'm having sex and during a great Broadway musical. Come on.
That was for Jeffrey, one of my favorite gay fairy tales. 1995 was an interesting moment for LGBT film, because I feel like the early 90s, like 1989 to 1993, was like the moment of new queer cinema, where you had all these provocative, kind of aggressive, genius queer movies like Poison and The Living End and what are my other favorites that I watch all the time? Zero Patience. And then in the kind of mid-90s, this was sort of the beginning of like almost the kind of almost mainstream assimilation of LGBTQ people into genre movies. So you started to have some gay romantic comedies, some gay dramedies. I think that it must have been 1996 or 97 when Love, Valor, Compassion came out. That was a real big one for me. You had the incredible true story of two girls in love. So I remember these movies were just starting to pop up on the video store shelves. And Jeffrey was the first movie with LGBTQ main characters that I ever saw. Oh. And it was, can you believe that? It's really bizarre because, I was, I wasn't going to go there, and there wasn't that much to see if you weren't really, really looking for it, which I wasn't when I was younger. So I stumbled on it at the video store. I kind of rented it illicitly. I didn't want anyone to know that I was watching it. That also happened a few months later with The Celluloid Closet, which somebody mentioned, which was what actually it really should be on my list because it's one of them. It really probably changed my life more than practically any other movie, just because it made me realize that there was LGBT film history, which I literally did not know about at all. But Jeffrey was very exciting because it showed this kind of wonderful moment in New York's downtown Chelsea East West Village area in the mid 90s, and it really made it out to be this kind of wonderland. And it's about Steven Weber plays this single guy, with an apartment that maybe then he could afford. Now he probably couldn't. He's a struggling actor who works as a waiter, and he has Patrick Stewart as his fabulous gay friend, and Brian Batt, who would later be on Mad Men, is Patrick Stewart's fabulous gay partner, who's a chorus boy in Cats. And they were just the kind of like witty, sharp, funny gays that I loved and kind of wanted to be like. And Jeffrey's more, like the kind of average, not as fabulous gay, but not too average and not too unfabulous that he's annoying and self-conscious about it. And he falls in love with Steve, who's this gorgeous, hunky bartender who turns out to be HIV positive. And it's this big thing for Jeffrey. Can he fall in love with this person who has this disease that at that time was considered very scary? And it was a great movie for me to see as a person who was really just coming to understand that I was gay. Because, growing up in the media, all I ever heard about gay people was that, they got AIDS and died and were victims and their lives were tragic. I mean, that, before Jeffrey, I feel like all I ever saw was like the Phil Donahue show or whatever, and the discourse that came down from my mom, which, she was actually very accepting, and she had some gay friends, but it was that kind of weird acceptance with some underlying ignorance and homophobia at the same time. I shouldn't say that on the air, but I mean, she's very not at all. That's not at all the case now. But the early '90s were a different time. So for me to see this movie that was suggesting, HIV is not this big terrible thing that you should be so afraid of, and you shouldn't stigmatize people who have it. You could fall in love with somebody who has it, and it's great. That was really important. It was a really good message to get out there. Plus, it was really, I remember thinking it was very, very funny. It had really good cameos by Sigourney Weaver and Kathy Najimy and Nathan Lane. And I was a big musical queen then. Nathan Lane plays this big, flaming musical theater queen priest who's talking about all the musicals from the 90s that I loved at that time. So I really connected to it, and it allowed me to see a future for myself. And I don't think my life ever ended up being quite as fabulous as it was in Jeffrey, because New York wasn't that fabulous by the time I got there. But it was just tremendously, tremendously exciting and exhilarating. Oh, and I need to talk about the soundtrack by Karen Mason, who was, I don't know if she was on a lot of, she was like an understudy on Broadway for Sunset Boulevard, which was my favorite at the time. She might have ended up becoming like a Broadway star. She sings a lot of great standards. So this is a super fun movie that, another one I haven't seen in a long time that I'd love to see again. What about you?
Oh, I liked Jeffrey a lot when it came out. I thought it was, not just more than just a gay movie. It was also just a really funny movie too, and that dealt about with just a funny New York movie, and I went to and when I went to see it, that's what I thought immediately. This is a funny New York movie, and it was great seeing a culture that you don't see in movies at the time. And I think Jeffrey was one of the first like more mainstreamish kind of gay movies to be accepted, and that was kind of a big deal then. And I just kind of looked at it as a great New York comedy, and a romantic comedy too, about a guy who finds love, but then all the entanglements that come with that, and especially when you have phobias and when you just are afraid of committing to somebody, and I like seeing that. I thought Steven Weber, right, as the lead, and Wings. I wasn't a fan of the Wings TV show, but he was actually pretty good in the lead there, and I like a lot of the supporting players in the movie, Patrick Stewart and the actor that ended up being in Mad Men. What's his name?
Yeah, Brian Batt.
Brian Batt, and he was really funny in that movie, and the movie goes to some tragic places too. Of course, when you're dealing with AIDS, I mean, it's sad, but the movie never gets depressing, and it kind of, if anything, it kind of makes you feel great after watching it, but it goes to real places too at the same time. So it's never condescending.
It shows what a real devastating crisis AIDS was creating in people's lives, but also kind of giving the message that, you couldn't let it keep you from living,
right,
which I think was very valuable.
It's a great lesson for people, and we're all in the same boat here, and we just kind of have to live our life as much as we can, and with all the bad shit going around us. So I like the message of Jeffrey, and I really like the film. I thought it was especially funny, and definitely sticks out in my head when I think about 1995. It's one of the better films. So it was also released through Orion. Remember Orion?
Well, that's right. It was. God, yeah. And I had the Laserdisc, which must have been directly it was distributed by Image, who had a deal with Orion.
Yeah.
Now I think when you get it, it probably has the MGM logo before it, which just seems so unfair. This must have been one of the last Orion movies.
Yeah, might have been, right? Yeah, I feel like it would have been.
It's a crime.
Okay, so that was Jeffrey, and let's do some more top 10 lists before we get into it. God, I realized I never got into my 10 through 6 too. Maybe we should do that.
No.
Going back a little bit, backtracking. I'm just gonna do my 10 through 6 quickly. My number 10. I'm gonna do a double feature. I call it the fucking die double feature with Species and Jade. Two out there movies. Species being sci-fi, and Jade being that William Friedkin, Joe Esserhouse thriller. Very frivolous, stupid, but I think it has some great chase sequences in it. And I think Species is kind of an underrated sci-fi movie. It's a lot of fun. Number 9 is Georgia, of course, with Jennifer Jason Leigh. Giving a phenomenal...
one of the great Jennifer Jason Leigh suffering movies.
Yeah, phenomenal performance. Wasn't nominated, but Mare Winningham, playing her sister, was nominated.
Which I love. She deserved it.
She was great, yeah. And she did her own singing, too, and she was great. Number 8, 2 New York independents that I really liked. Amateur, the Hal Hartley movie, and Party Girl. I think they're a lot of fun, especially Party Girl. Number 7, a movie I know you don't like, French Kiss. Give it another chance.
I will.
And number 6, 2 movies from Canada that I really liked, Exotica and Love and Human Remains. They both were released, at least in New York, in 1995, and that's when I saw them, and I really liked them. Kind of quirky, strange, and Canadian. Perfect combination for me. So those were my 10 through 6s. And now I'm going to go do some more top 10 lists from pals. Okay, Chris Stanton. His number 10 is Kids. His number 9 is Leaving Las Vegas. His number 8 is Sense and Sensibility. His number 7 is A Little Princess. His number 6, Dolores Claiborne. Number 5, Crimson Tide. Number 4, Toy Story. Number 3, Clueless. Number 2, Dead Man Walking. And number 1, Babe.
God, there were some on that list that I would have included on at least my runners-up, too. What list was I looking at of movies from 1995?
Jeffrey Berg, great guy. His number 10 is Welcome to the Dollhouse. Number 9, Safe. Number 8, Heat. Number 7, Sense and Sensibility. Number 6, Babe. Number 5, Dolores Claiborne. Number 4, Last Summer in the Hamptons. Number 3, Smoke. Number 2, Leaving Las Vegas. And number 1, Dead Man Walking. From the Retro Movie Love Facebook page, Melinda McClure. Her number 10 is Basketball Diaries. Number 9, 12 Monkeys. Number 8, Usual Suspects. Number 7, Toy Story. Number 6, Babe. Number 5, Clueless. Number 4, The City of Lost Children. Number 3, Ghost in the Shell. Number 2, 7. And number 1, Braveheart. And Scott Pliskin's number 10 is Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Number 9 is Species. Number 8 is Halloween 6. So another Halloween 6 fan.
Yes.
I'm certainly not a fan of it. And his note is Paul Rudd's best movie.
Wow.
Very controversial there. Number 7, Seven. Clever. Number 6, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. Number 5, The Usual Suspects. Number 4 is Heat. Number 3 is Casino. Number 2,
I love Casino.
Yeah, I thought that was actually. I think to me, Casino is better than Goodfellas. But let's be quiet. Let's not tell that to anyone. Okay. Number 2 is 12 Monkeys, and number 1 is Rob Roy. And Andrew Rooney, great guy. Number 10, Clueless. Number 9, Brady Bunch. Number 8, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Number 7, Basketball Diaries. Number 6, Species. Number 5, Demon Knight. Oh, Demon Knight, can't love. Number 4, Showgirls. Number 3, Toy Story. Number 2, Heat. And number 1 is Dead Man.
I should add that I also loved the Basketball Diaries, and I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was super hot in that, much more than any of his other more famous movies that he was considered hot in.
His disclaimer reads, I've never seen 12 Monkeys or The Usual Suspects, and I can't for the life of me remember 7. Honorable mention to Fair Game for its awesomeness.
Yeah.
Do you remember Fair Game?
I do, and I don't think I ever saw it in its entirety, but Jason loves Cindy Crawford. So
it's awesome. Fair Game was based on a novel, and I think it was the same novel that Cobra was made into.
Wow.
So,
awesome.
One more top 10 list. Dimitrios Patsiaris. His top 10 reads, no order, Apollo 13, Heat, 7, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Casino, Shallow Grave, 12 Monkeys, Nixon, Strange Days, and Crimson Tide. Thank you, guys. And I'm going to move on to a TV spot for my number 4. Here we go.
The New York Times calls Copycat crackling good, nail-bitingly tense, tautly directed. Copycat can recall other thrillers, Vertigo, The Silence of the Lambs, Wait Until Dark at will, but it has a personality all its own. Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter are terrific. A very good thriller it is. Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter, Dermot Mulroney, and Harry Connick Jr. Copycat, rated R, now playing at a theater near you.
Okay, so that was that movie that was the other 7 in 1995 with Copycat. I love a good thriller, and Copycat is that to me. I think Copycat is the perfect serial killer movie. I'm not so much into that genre of serial killers because it kind of goes to places that are kind of like real life stuff, which I really don't want to know about too, although I have a perverse curiosity for it once in a while. But Copycat to me is a real movie. It's like very much a movie, and I love that about it. It's so glossy. It's filmed so beautifully. And it has a great performance by Sigourney Weaver playing this agoraphobic person who was a victim of a serial killer and who's an expert on serial killers and who goes to the cops to help them on their current case. And the cops are played by, why am I blanking on her name? Holly Hunter and Dermot Mulroney playing an interesting pair of cops. I think what this movie could have been was a very standard police procedural, but what the actors do is they give it a more interesting, quirky charm. The characters are always doing things that kind of seem like what people would do. Like you have the Holly Hunter character who who seems kind of real, like a real cop, even though she's like this tiny person.
Yes. Believable.
Which somehow she's really believable. And there's a scene where like her and a partner are in the car, and they're at a crime scene, and they're listening to a song they're really into, and then of course they have to shut it off, and they feel like really bummed out about that. I feel like that's something like that I would do, right? If I was like, I'm in my car, I'm listening to music, right, or a podcast, and I just like, I don't want to shut it off. I don't want to do my job, but I have to.
I don't care that somebody was murdered.
Right. There's just the movie has a lot of details like that, and it kind of makes me love this movie. Many more interesting details than Seven. Sorry, this is just more my kind of movie. I know you're going to talk about her apartment, Sigourney Weaver's apartment, how crazy it is, and just the art direction there, and just the look of the movie. This was filmed, I think, mostly with Steadicam. And I don't know, I just love that about it. It kind of reminds me of like a John Carpenter movie, but with just a lot of prestige in it. And there's like a $20 million budget on it, so Warner Brothers put some money into it. But it just looks beautiful, and I just love it. And what are your thoughts?
I have so many thoughts on Copycat. I do remember her apartment, and I loved that she was agoraphobic and didn't want to leave. And I think about her all the time when I am just experiencing. I mean, I don't want to minimize what agoraphobic's experience, because like I can leave the house. I'm not afraid to. I just hate to. I mean, I may be a little bit afraid to, but it's more of just a hatred of it. But yes, I do. I love her apartment. I love an apartment with grandiose windows, and she had amazing windows. I remember that was like one of the first movies I saw. It seems bizarre to me that Copycat and The Net came out in the same year, because when The Net came out, it must have been significantly after, because I already had like the internet. I had America Online, and I was like familiar with that world. But when I saw Copycat and she was like playing chess with people on her computer, it was phenomenal to me. Like, it was just like nothing that I could ever imagine existed. Like in the scene in Pretty in Pink, where Andrew McCarthy like sends his picture over to Molly Ringwald's computer, and I was just so scandalized by it.
Total fantasy, love it.
So that was, the internet was awesome. Internet chess was the most exciting thing to me about that movie. But no, in addition to everything you said, I remember the score being like a classic 90s thriller, grandiose orchestral score that I loved. I remember that I snuck into it, and it was very challenging for me to sneak into. I snuck into movies all the time, but it was always really hard because people were up your ass in the town where I grew up. So it almost made the movie better, because like my heart would be pounding. I was so afraid that I'd get caught, and the ushers would come in, and I'd be like, oh my God, they're going to see me. And looking back, it's like, what the hell were they going to do? They were going to make me leave the movie, but I felt like I was going to get like arrested or something. I mean, this is who I was when I was 12 years old, which is how old I was when this movie came out. Is that right? 83, 93? Yeah, 12.
Yeah, 12, yeah.
I mean, what a dream to have Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter fighting a serial killer in a thriller. Like, that seems like something I would make up, that I'd want to happen that didn't happen. I remember what a huge deal it was that Harry Connick Jr. wasn't attractive. Like, he was dirty.
Right.
Look how dirty he is. And it was just, I was blown away by it. I just remember thinking it was legitimately suspenseful and legitimately scary and totally awesome. And this is a movie that haunted me, because Sigourney Weaver's fabulous gay assistant gets seduced and killed and decapitated by the killer. And I was like, oh, that happens when you are a gay man and you go out to a bar. Like, I remember specifically, the killer gives him a pina colada with a Mickey in it and then decapitates him. And I was like, you're never allowed to have sex, because that will happen.
But he was in the 90s thriller, and if you're the best friend in the 90s thriller, you're dead.
Exactly. And then, of course, who I assumed I would be, because why wouldn't I be Sigourney Weaver's best friend? And that is actually true. I mean, I've literally been in the position of, like, the assistant to Sigourney Weaver. Might as well be Sigourney Weaver in my life. So, but I didn't get killed, thank God, because, whatever. I chose another genre for my life. But classic movie, essential, and yes, to me, Seven cannot ever come close to living up to it.
Yeah, Harry Connick Jr. was really gross in it. I mean, it was like so well done. Like he was like realistically ugly and he had
Yes.
like bad skin, and it didn't seem like he was like a lot of makeup was like cheesy Hollywood makeup was put on him. They kind of did a really good job with that.
And it looked like he smelled.
Exactly, yeah.
And I must say that's really impressive because I really thought Harry Connick Jr. was super cute. So for me to I think unattractive people are sexy all the time, and even I didn't think that Harry Connick Jr. in his disguise was attractive. So they really pulled something off there.
And I liked a little bit of a spoiler alert that the killer that's currently killing people is a bit of a yuppie, and just like someone who's kind of young and attractive and just kind of almost very blank and just could be anyone.
Yes,
yeah,
totally.
I like that about it, and just like there's a lot of things in the movie, like with the stuff with her, with a cop she works with, who just kind of has a thing for her, and it could be melodramatic, it could be over the top, but the movie just kind of the way they act, like Will Patton plays that guy, and the way the actors do their jobs and play their roles, just kind of pitch perfect, and they hit the right notes, and they just add so much to the movie. Christopher Young's score, really
Young did the score. No wonder
really well done, just matching the great visuals to the movie. So just every time I watch this movie, every time that it's on, I just kind of like fall into it and just like, oh yeah, I'm in for this for 2 hours and just get really into it, and it just gets really suspenseful. The scenes in the bathroom where the killer is taking Sigourney Weaver hostage twice in the movie, like in the beginning and towards the end, and spoiler alert. And
I love how much suspense the movie creates by her lighting the toilet seat.
Yes.
Like this movie does for lighting the toilet seat what Jaws did for going in the water.
Great sequences and like bathrooms and apartments and cop stations. Like the movie just does the interiors so well, and I like that it's set in San Francisco and it just really utilizes its locations well, and unlike that other thriller that everyone loves, the perfect 90s thriller to me is Copycat. So I'm glad.
I just remembered I have a story to share about this movie's importance in my life. When Jason and I were first dating, well, one of the things that Copycat, the lingering things that has left with me is that I don't walk next to vans anymore, because you remember the beginning of the movie where she's signing books and she keeps saying to the girls, don't walk next to vans. Like that's the little thing she leaves her fans with. So I don't, because it's a good point. And if you remember in Horror, Teresa Russell says you should never go home with a guy who's in a van either. So vans are just bad news. So I was just starting to date Jason. We'd probably been together for like a month or two. And I was walking in the parking lot at UCLA talking to him. And I think I was going to introduce a movie because I was the president of the Film Society then in my glory days. And I walked by a van, and I thought to myself, don't walk next to vans. And then I was talking to Jason, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to introduce a movie. And he said, oh, are you going to be like Sigourney Weaver in the first scene of Copycat? And we'd never talked about it before. And like, who the hell references Copycat in 2007 or 2009, whatever? And I was like, oh my God, I just thought, don't walk next to vans. And he said it like her. He was like, don't walk next to vans. So I was like, okay, clearly we have to get married, because
that is true love right there.
It's a psychic it's a psychic message from above, from Copycat Land. So I don't even own that movie, and it's like the most important movie ever. So I need to get it.
I need to get it on Blu-ray because it's such a gorgeous movie. And the Blu-ray, I think I watched it on Blu-ray or on something where it was HD, and it looked amazing.
That's like one of the few Blu-rays that I could get that Jason would be legitimately excited about, because usually he's just like, oh, great, a 70s Italian exploitation movie.
Our significant others will always feel our pain.
Yes.
They'll feel pain, whatever. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help let you see if I can't help falling in love with you. Like the river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things they were meant to be. Like a river flows surely to the sea, honey, so it goes. Some things, oh, they were meant to be, yeah. So take my hand, take my whole life through. Oh, I can't help falling, falling, falling for you. 'Cause I can't help falling in love with you.
Okay, hope you enjoyed that. And let's do a few more top 10 lists to get some in here before you get into your number 3. And Ara Alashan, he has some notes. Last episode, I really struggled to narrow down my favorite films from 1990 and offered a list of 15 features and about 20 honorable mentions. As you know, it took so long compiling my list that I didn't submit it until after we had finished recording. Fortunately, or unfortunately, 1995 didn't offer the same dilemma. For instance, I believe I saw Tommy Boy about a dozen times in theaters, which sadly says something about my preferences as an adolescent, but says even more about the lack of alternatives available to a 12-year-old that summer. Well, without further ado, number 10, Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. Number 9, Castle Freak, another criminally underrated collaboration from Stewart Gordon and Company. Number 8, GoldenEye. Number 7, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Under Siege and his aforementioned sequel are fun knockoffs, but nothing beats the original Die Hard films. The less said about the current incarnations, the better. Agree with you there. Number 6, Congo. Number 5, Quick and the Dead. Number 4, Species. Number 3, 12 Monkeys. Number 2, Demon Knight. I must have seen this film a dozen times when it first became available on cable, and to this day cannot understand why it's never received cult status. I'll admit that Bordello of Blood seems more in tune with the tone of the great HBO Tales from the Crypt series, but I have always preferred Demon Knight, and suppose I always will. I actually kind of think it has a cult audience, because 3 people have mentioned their top 10. So.
And Scream Factory's releasing it, I think, too.
Yeah, it came out, Scream Factory with that and Bordello of Blood, which I like, actually, Bordello of Blood. His number 1 is In the Mouth of Madness. While many may argue that this film doesn't hold a candle to John Carpenter's earlier efforts, I beg to differ. No, it's not his finest film, but it's his most frightening. In the Mouth of Madness is a surreal, unnerving nightmare come time life, and I'm grateful for every eerie shiver it set up my spine. Do you read Sutter Kane? I cannot justify excluding Heat from my top 10. I suppose I simply prefer escapism to drama, but make no mistake, Heat was probably the best picture of the year. Sorry, Braveheart. I'll be sure to include it in a future episode. Some other honorable mentions are Casper, which I still enjoy as an adult, Desperado, The Net, and yes, I even consider the much maligned Waterworld a guilty pleasure of sorts, even though I lauded it at the time. The Misbehaviors segment from Four Rooms deserves mentioning, as well as there are any of the other films I'm tempted to include, but I've rambled on long enough. As always, I'd like to thank you and your colleagues for making my commute much more tolerable. LA traffic isn't nearly as bad when you're listening to hours upon hours of audio goodness. Well, thank you, Ara. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And I look forward to hearing all of your letters on all the different podcasts that I listen to. I feel like I always hear from the Alashad brothers on the Hysteria Continues, too. They're always very good analytical emails.
Love it. I usually refrain from reading out people's feedback because I just like reading it, or I don't like sharing with Ben. Sorry, guys. We love your thoughts, and thank you for
You should all know that we get reams and reams of fan letters every week. So just because we're not reading them doesn't mean that it's like the Miracle at 34th Street every day at my house. I just get bags full of mail. But we keep it to ourselves because we don't like to brag.
No. Kieran Edwards, his number 10 is Tales from the Hood. Number 9 is Living in Oblivion. Number 8 is Strange Days. Number 7 is Devil in a Blue Dress. Number 6 is Mute Witness. Number 5 is 12 Monkeys. Number 4, Showgirls. Number 3, To Die For. Number 2, The City of Lost Children. Number 1, Clueless. And honorable mentions go to The Usual Suspects, Heat, Friday, Safe, Demon Night, Before Sunrise, Welcome to the Dollhouse, The Brady Bunch Movie, The Day of the Beast. I really need to see The Day of the Beast. I haven't seen this movie.
Me neither.
And The Wife. I remember getting some buzz when it came out, but I just did not get around to seeing it. Strangely, because I've seen so many 1995 movies. All right, we'll read the rest later, and here is the TV spot for your number 3. Here we go.
This holiday season,
Dear Abby.
Oh, Mom, not Abby.
comes a celebration of the American family
Thank Gladys waiting. We gotta go.
and everything they put us through.
When you go home, do you look around and wonder, who are these people? Where did I even come from?
From director Jodie Foster,
Into the house. Everyone, before we're in the evening news.
Home for the Holidays. Rated PG-13. Special sneak preview Saturday, October 28th.
How is it possible that in 1 year we were blessed with 2 such mammoth Holly Hunter movies? I mean, it really just shows you that 1995 was the time to be alive. Even if you were having the worst year of your life, it was still the best year of your life at the multiplex. So I did see Home for the Holidays, not when it came out in the theater, but I did rent it on video. Or actually, to be exact, I watched it on like Spectravision pay-per-view at a hotel. Do you remember that?
Why don't I remember that for some reason? No, I don't.
It was sometimes if you go to a hotel or a motel, they would have a movie that was not in the theaters anymore, but wasn't on.
Oh, yes, of course.
So it was very exciting. I watched Home for the Holidays, and I thought it wasn't that great. I thought it was kind of mediocre and noisy and not that wonderful. And this just shows you that when I was 12, I did not understand it because I was very wrong. I think I was wrong now when I look back on it. It's one of Jason's favorite movies, so he wanted to watch it on Thanksgiving, so I got it for him. We've now watched it every Thanksgiving for the last 5 or 6 years. And every year I think, I'm sick of it. We've seen it so many times. And then every year, as soon as it's on, I get into it and I laugh and I think it's brilliant. Holly Hunter plays a kind of very chic paint restoration expert in Philadelphia who gets fired and then her boss weirdly makes out with her and she kind of falls apart. She's extremely neurotic, just classic, very neurotic, very weird Holly Hunter character who you love so much. And then she goes home for Thanksgiving to visit her intense family. And it reminds me of when I go home to visit my family, sort of, because it's just like lots of energy being thrust at her from different directions and lots of big personalities with big problems. And she's just kind of in the middle of it. And the cast in this movie is extraordinary. There's Anne Bancroft as her mother. Every line that she states is a jewel. Although my favorite part of the movie is when Holly Hunter's in the car on the way home from the airport and Anne Bancroft is shoving newspaper articles at her because that's exactly what my dad does to me. He always has like 3 newspaper articles that he makes me read. Oh God, I always forget which Brian, what the last name is of the father, who I love from When a Stranger Calls.
Charles Durning.
Charles Durning. I mixed him up with Brian Dennehy. But Geraldine Chaplin makes a rare appearance for a 90s movie as her very crazy, eccentric aunt who will only eat like her weird mashed potato or her weird sweet potato things with gumdrops on them. It's like, and then Robert Downey Jr. as her fabulous, awesome gay brother who is like no other gay character in any movie I could think of. He's just manic, Robert Downey Jr. wonderfulness, very quirky, very insane. I hear that behind the scenes of the movie, he was having some intense substance abuse problems, but I think he's brilliant in it. And then, of course, oh my God, he brings home Dylan McDermott to fix him up with her, and he's wearing all these grade 90s baggy clothes, and he's so fucking cute that I could die. And that alone, I don't know why I didn't love it when I saw it in 1995, because, I mean, he is the dreamiest person ever, and also in the Miracle on 34th Street remake, he was extremely, extremely dreamy. So the movie is just the best. It is the best, and it makes me feel so uplifted at the end, and I just think it is funny as all hell. And Jodie Foster directed it, and she's great. And I also love Little Man Tate. And she's directing a new movie soon, which I'm excited about. So what about you?
Great. When I think about this movie, because it makes me think of being home for the holidays, which I have been, and I want to drink. I really do, so I'm going to start drinking now. I've been drinking, but quietly. God, yes. It does capture that manic quality so well of being around a lot of family and everyone offering their opinions on everything and just that craziness that you just don't want to be there, but you have to be there at your family and I think her character is sick on top of it. She had lost her coat at the airport. It's just she's like wearing things she doesn't want to wear and being around her family she doesn't really want to be around and then at the same time like introducing a possible love interest and all this craziness and like she kind of assumes it's her brother's boyfriend and then she kind of embarrasses herself kind of over and over throughout the movie and it hits all these right notes. One, I guess I don't know if the portrayal of I guess it's the sister. Is it Lisa Stevenson?
Yeah.
I don't know, something about how uptight like her and Steve Guttenberg are. Just kind of, it's a little bit one note.
I totally agree with that. They're much more one note than the other characters.
But I can understand their point of view too a little bit. I mean, the movie does kind of offer a little bit of like the sister's like obsessiveness as well. But I don't know. I would just kind of wanted a bit more like kind of, I don't know, just a bit more balance with their characters. They seem to just be pushing buttons all the time. But I don't know. I just really love this movie. I know some people who don't like this movie because it's that manic, crazy. It captures that kind of qualities, and
I can see that. I mean, it's kind of like, why do you want to have to go through that?
Exactly. But I don't know. I need to see. I need to experience it. I think it's funny. I think it's well written, and I think it was written by maybe the guy who wrote Pretty Woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no way.
W.D. Richter, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, just kind of going off of my memory, and it's just sharply written, but really well performed by everyone. Holly Hunter. Great. Robert Downey Jr. is amazing in it, and just Charles Durning. I love the relationship she has with her parents, and Anne Bancroft is amazing, and she just kind of left us a little too soon. I think there was some great performances left for her, and just everyone does a great job, and Jodie Foster making a studio movie. A fun, like mid-level kind of studio movie that I really got into when it came out, and I kind of miss those kinds of movies. I think
there's so much personality. I mean, she has such a unique voice as a filmmaker, and the screenplay does too. The writer, it brings a lot. I mean, it feels a lot less like a traditional Hollywood movie than Pretty Woman, even though that's my favorite movie ever. I have to say, too, that one of my favorite things about this movie is how pissed Holly Hunter is the whole time that Robert Downey Jr., she thinks he left his husband. And, like, that's, like, the big conflict. Like, she cannot believe she's so disgusted that he left his husband, who she loves so much. And that's just such a great... I love that. I just love how, like, obsessed she is with Robert Downey Jr.'s husband.
Right.
What a good in-law she is.
She is. And I love their relationship. I almost wanted to see more of that, like even a spin-off movie where it's just those two and
that'd be great.
And their crazy adventures. But
she moves in with him and the husband.
That's true. Yes.
Because I love the scene too. Talk about apartments where the husband is talking to Robert Downey Jr. on the phone, and he's in his fabulous apartment with his fabulous queer family, and they're all just so 90s out. And I'm just like, yes, I want to be there forever.
She moves in with him. Her daughter's pregnant now with her because I guess isn't it like her daughter is talking about on top of everything, losing her virginity on top of everything. And just,
Claire Danes could have a bigger part too. That would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. That's our imagined sequel for Home for the Holidays. Funny, we covered 2 Home for the Holidays movies on this podcast so far.
Oh yes.
In our horror for the holidays, we covered the 1970s TV movie. One.
Both of which are equally brilliant, and both of which equally capture the angst of going home for Thanksgiving.
Yes, I survived it. Did you go home for the holidays this year?
I went home after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas, and I was sick, like Holly Hunter, and it was fine. It was a little bit, it was a little bit a lot, but it was I like being with my family.
It was a lot for me. I didn't go far because we're living with my in-laws and they had Christmas here and Thanksgiving here, and it's always a big deal, and there's a lot of craziness, a lot of many relatives.
Oh my god!
Lots of food and it's very loud and crazy, and unfortunately I have to live through it. But thankfully it's over. And this will probably be the last podcast from San Diego since I'll be moving soon again. Finally out of here. Been here a little too long. We thought we'd be here just a few months or a few weeks even. And it's going on 8-9 months. And so
like flowers in the attic, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. We'll be going to. We'll be living soon, I believe, in Long Beach. So I'll only be less than an hour away from you.
Yes, maybe we'll even do in-person podcasts.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So look out for those guys. And hopefully you had a good holiday, and hopefully you survived it yourselves. All right, so let's move on to my number 3. Here is the trailer. Actually, I'm going to do a double feature, so I'll go through these quickly. Okay. I'm going to call it a New Love, Last Love double feature. Here's the first one.
All right, I have an admittedly insane idea, but if I don't ask you this, it's just going to haunt me the rest of my life. I have no idea what your situation is, but I feel like we have some kind of connection, right?
Yeah, me too.
Great. So listen, here's the deal. This is what we should do. You should get off the train with me here in Vienna and come check out the town. We just got into Vienna today, and we're looking for something fun to do. Is pregnancy English?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because you speak German for a change.
Now I'm gonna call my best friend in Paris, who I'm supposed to have lunch with in 8 hours. Okay?
Okay.
Ring, ring. Pick up the phone.
Hello?
I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it for lunch today, I'm sorry. I met a guy on the train and I got off with him in Vienna. We're still there.
Are you crazy?
Probably. He has beautiful blue eyes, nice pink lips, frizzy hair. I love it. I like to feel his eyes on me when I look away. You couldn't possibly know why a night like this is so important to my life right now. But it is. Since we're never going to see each other again, I don't think we should sleep together.
Let's see each other again.
I don't want you to break our vow, just so you can get laid. Men are lucky we don't bite off their head after mating. Certain insects do that, like spiders and stuff. Mm-hmm. We at least let you live.
Okay, so that's the trailer for Before Sunrise, a movie I haven't seen in a while, but I remember really loving it when it came out. They've since had like 2 sequels, so you guys may remember this movie or remember these movies. Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy playing young people who kind of slowly fall in love with each other over a night of talking and hanging out together. And I just remember being really charmed by it, and I haven't been that in love with Ethan Hawke as an actor, but I thought he was good in it, and especially Julie Delpy. I just love her and everything, and especially in her directorial. But did you ever see 2 Days in Paris?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really great. It was really charming.
Love that movie. Good sequel too. So I just love her, and I just kind of like their relationship. Richard Linklater directed this film, and it's kind of low key and really just about 2 people talking and amongst the backdrop of Vienna, just walking around and talking and just kind of falling in love. And it's kind of a small movie, and it's fun that he's revisited the characters over the years, and I think we'll continue to. So, have you seen it anytime recently? Or
No, not since the second one, Before Sunset, came out. Is that right? Before Sunset or before?
The second one was Before Sunset. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And this is another movie that I love, but I don't ever really want to watch it. I don't know why, because I think it's so great that it's this movie about 2 people having a great conversation, and it really sucks you in, and you feel very invested in their romance. And then I always complain that romantic comedies don't have people having conversations enough. But I don't know. I never want to revisit it. But I loved it, and I thought Before Sunset was even better. I thought it was fantastic. I did not like Before Midnight. I was really, really disappointed. Not that we were even talking about it, but since we're here, I was like, really? Is that all there is? They're going to have like your typical cliche 1960s play, like bullshit middle-aged people angst? Like, I don't know. maybe it's just that Jason and I haven't been together long enough, but I really hope that's not what we devolve into. Like, if we're going to have angst with each other, let it be about something else.
I don't know. But for some reason, I really liked all 3 of those movies. And it felt like a natural progression to me for the characters. I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't think their lives would be that super interesting by that point. So that's what they wanted to portray.
Maybe I'm just too immature to understand. God, I hope not.
I guess also because they're parents, and I kind of understood some of their dilemmas as parents, and just having kids who and kids with other. I guess he had a kid with somebody else, and kind of all the complications that arise from that. So I don't know. I really like those movies, and I like the start of it with Before Sunrise a lot. The second one in this double feature here's the trailer.
My heart is crying, lonely teardrops. My pillow never dries.
I really wish you'd come home with me. You're so cute. And I'm really good in bed, too, believe me. No? Okay.
When your life is on the rocks, and you can't remember how it got there, it's time to move on.
We're gonna let you go, okay?
Okay.
What are you gonna do now?
I thought I'd move out to Las Vegas.
Blush on your cheek.
Ben wasn't planning to start a new life, and he wasn't asking for a second chance. But on the road to oblivion, he got lonely.
If you'll come to my room for 1 hour, I will give you $500.
Sarah thought her life was as it should be, and then she met Ben.
Why don't you stay at my place tonight?
Okay. Wow. You look extremely beautiful.
I do.
Come rain or come shine.
And against all the odds, these 2 unlucky people fall head over heels.
Oh my God. Come home. Just say you will.
Nicolas Cage.
Nurse.
Elizabeth Elizabeth Shue.
So what's it tonight? Another 500 to watch you sleep.
Looks like I'm with the right girl.
Leaving Las Vegas.
Okay, so that was Leaving Las Vegas, a movie I haven't revisited in a long time because this movie does make me extremely sad. But I thought it was totally profound when I saw it in 1995, and I really connected to it, and about a person who's who wants to end their life and the way they see fit with alcohol and just a completely sad person who connects to somebody at the same time while trying to leave this world, and I just find the performances in this movie heartbreaking and they feel very real, and at the same time they feel like actors doing a great job at making you like them at the same time. This could have been completely depressing, and it is depressing, but it could have been where you just didn't want to look at the screen, where we just don't want to look at the characters and because of the dark places they go to, and I think the actors do a great job, and Mike Figgis does a good job at portraying Las Vegas in kind of in its at the time in its seediness and also some beauty, and just they're so well done. And the music, I actually don't like some of the music in the movie because it's a lot of it's Sting songs, which I don't like. Sting, I liked the Police when they were a band, but I'm not quite, Sting music, yucky, but I like a lot of the other elements of the movie that come together really well, and I just think that he won the Oscar for that movie, and of course it was a little bit all downhill for him after that, but I thought it was a well-deserved Oscar for him. I thought Elizabeth Shue was very strong in the movie and deserved her Oscar nomination, and I just thought there were two tragic characters who kind of cross paths at possibly the wrong time, and because he's on his downward spiral and she wants to help him, but it's you kind of get that it's gonna go to some dark places by the end of the movie. So it's not a movie that you want to pick up and run out to go see, but I'm glad I did go see it in the theater when it came out. I felt extremely moved by it. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I've never seen it to this day because I always think, I don't want to be that sad. I think I did rent it once when it came out, and then I just never watched it. I really want to see it though because I love Elizabeth Shue. Nicolas Cage, I can kind of take or leave, but one of these days, I know it's supposed to be a phenomenal movie, and I'm sure I would love it if I saw it.
Yeah, I think you should see it just at least once, and then get it out of the way. And but I think it really does deserve to be seen at least once. And so
I have been doing one or two of those every year recently. One of those like, okay, you have to sit and watch this and be depressed and be glad you did it, and then maybe not watch it again. It's
interesting that 1995 yielded two big Las Vegas movies from MGM. Two flip sides to Las Vegas life. You have Showgirls and Leaving Las Vegas. So.
Oh, that's so funny. I wonder if MGM had some kind of weird deal with the city then.
They might have both been released in October too, I think, as well. So
perfect autumnal releases.
Yes. Epic time to be alive. All right, so that was Leaving Las Vegas, and let's move on to your number 2.
It's 1995. The world we know has changed.
Put on your Sunday best, kids. We're going to Sears.
But the Bradys never will.
Out of sight.
With Mike.
If your sister would wear her glasses, she just might improve her eyesight.
Carol.
Honey, I think you've stirred that enough.
I'm not stirring. I'm looking for Katie Carryall's underpants.
Greg.
All right, this is a car, Jack.
Of course this is a car. But my name's not Jack, it's Greg.
Bobby and Cindy.
So why don't you hop back on the Swiss Miss package where you belong, huh?
Okay.
Peter.
Lunch looks pretty rank.
What'd you bring?
Pork chops and applesauce.
Jan.
Hi, everybody. It's the new Jan Brady.
Marcia.
Dinner's ready. Oh, my nose.
I'm sure no one will ever notice.
There will never be a teen model.
And Alice. The Brady Bunch movie.
Marcia. Marsha did it again. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
Oh, the bliss. You must be so happy to have just heard that trailer, because I know I am. I still remember when I saw that trailer for the first time, and I was like, yes, thank God, there's something is coming that I need. I was a huge fan of the Brady Bunch growing up. It used to be on in reruns every afternoon on our local Fox affiliate, WXXA, after the Pink Panther cartoon. Not that you need to know that, and I loved it. And then I kind of, forgotten about it. Not forgotten about it, but I just it wasn't on in syndication anymore in 1995. And it wasn't on my mind. And then I saw this trailer, and it just all flooded back to me how much I loved them and how much I needed them and how much I wanted to be obsessed with the show. So luckily, right around the time the movie came out, Nick and Knight started showing everything Brady. There was like a month-long marathon, and I taped the whole thing of the show and the variety hour and the cartoon, and I just, oh my God, it was bliss. And the Brady variety hour is something that must be seen to be believed, with Alice running around in her sparkly blue sequined uniform, dusting the Bradys while they do the hustle and do Esther Williams routines in a giant pool. It's really bizarre. But, shockingly, when the movie came out, it was not even a teeny tiny little bit disappointing. Like, it was maybe a million times better than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be so good. I remember just roaring in the theater and being so thrilled at how much the movie got it. I mean, it got the nuances, right down to the fact that they hired the travel agent from A Very Brady Christmas for a cameo. What can I say? I mean, obviously, I identified with Jan so much, and her angry voices and her wanting to become a new person by getting an afro wig. I mean, that was like my life. It was so thrilling to see Shelley Long back on screen in a role that was absolutely perfect for her, that, just reminded the world that she is a comic genius. And she really, it's funny because she doesn't nail Florence Henderson's voice and mannerisms in the same way that Gary Cole does. I mean, he really embodies Robert Reed, but she somehow totally captures her essence in this just beautiful way that is flawless. Christine Taylor, again, rocked it as Marsha, and you can't even believe how well she does Maureen McCormick's voice. And I don't know, I just remember being so thrilled. I loved how colorful it was. I think I loved the idea of the Bradys, like, still living in the 70s and the 90s, because I probably sort of identified with that. It was bliss. And I think I literally went to see this movie in the theater 5 times. I miss having all that free time that you could go see a movie in the theater 5 times. Like, it's never going to happen in my life again. And I'm glad I did, because I wish I'd seen it 10 times. But I did get to see it again in 35 millimeter a few years ago to celebrate Sherwood Schwartz's. It might have been after he died, to honor him. And everybody was there, the whole cast. So Shelley Long was there. And, it's directed by, what's her name? She played Velda Plender in True Beverly Hills.
God, I forgot her name.
It's okay. I'm going to look it up because I think that she must be honored. But everybody was there, and Shelley Long was very wacky, but very, very kind.
From Hill Street Blues, right? What's her name? I'm blanking on her name.
Let's see. She directed the Smurfs movies, too. Not that that's going to help you remember. God, IMDb's gotten so... Betty Thomas.
Betty Thomas, yes, yeah.
And I didn't know that she was a director. So when I saw her at the movie, I was like, who is that? And then she was like sitting next to Shelley Long. And I'm like, oh my God, Velda and Phyllis are back together. And one of them is a director. And this is too perfect. And Shelley Long was just so nice to the fans. She was talking, she sang the Beverly Hills What a Thrill song for people. I would never have asked for that. I would never have insulted her, but they did, and she was totally game. She was totally wacky. She gave this, I've talked about it on the podcast before, she gave this crazy monologue about how when they were shooting the Bradys go to the White House in Canada, there were like men with guns in the airport because of September 11th, and there is terrorism in the world, and that's why movies are important. And everyone was looking at her like, "Oh, Shelley, like, just don't get too crazy." And you felt like the whole cast and crew were like just like very nervous that Shelley was going to go off the handle, and that's exactly what I wanted Shelley to be like. So it was very special, and this movie is deeply, deeply special to me. One of my favorite movies of the '90s. What about you?
Oh, I love the Brady Bunch movies. Definitely would be on my list too. I just was a huge. I was a huge Brady Bunch fan, and throughout the 80s, Brady Bunch, I mean, the 70s and 80s and 90s, they were reruns a lot. And especially in the 80s, after school, just go home, watch the Brady Bunch. And that's what I did. And I watched every single episode and sometimes over and over. So I knew the show pretty well by the time the movie came out. So I was super excited when it came out. And I went to the theater and like, oh my God, that's from the show. That's from the show. That's from the show. That's from like the entire movie, both movies, Brady Bunch movies. Literally every scene that's not a 1995 scene is from the show, lifted from the show, but done in such a perfect way. And that they just, like you said, they really got it. They understood. They knew the Brady's inside out and to every detail. And I love that about it. And it's just a celebration of the show and putting those characters into 90s reality was just really funny and I just love a good fish out of water kind of thing, and I love how they just maintain that 70s-ness throughout the whole thing. And the actors are just so perfect. A Shelley Long movie, like you said, I love her. Gary Cole is perfect. Does he have a perm in both movies, or just?
I think so.
Okay, because there's that point in the Brady Bunch series where
he goes
Robert Reed, whose hair goes from like straight to like permed,
parted down the middle.
Apparently, he has naturally curly hair, and I think the Hawaii episode onward, he just kept his hair permed because it got really curly on the set of the Brady Bunch when they did Hawaii.
I remember hearing that too.
Yeah, so I just think it's fun that they gave him his hair in that movie. All the kids are great. Some better than others, obviously. Like Christine, what's her name?
Taylor.
Taylor is great, and what's her name who plays Jan? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the names, but
oh my God,
she's especially good in the movie.
It's like Elise something.
Yes, Kimberly.
Let me look her up. I feel like these names must be said.
Yes.
I feel like I didn't see her in very much after the Brady Bunch movies. It was like that role was too perfect for her that it was a problem. Jennifer Lee Cox.
Yeah, she's great, and she's really funny, and I like that she's kind of almost the central character in the movie.
Yeah, she is, which is exactly as it should be.
She gets her due. And the sequel, I feel like they all kind of have a bit more to do, maybe.
Yeah, especially Greg and Marcia were very central in their incestuous undertones.
Right. So I love both of those movies so much. I think they're so funny and perfect. And I just remember how much I was just so giddy with delight when right after that movie, just had a big smile on my face after the theater. Yeah. And I still watch it anytime it's on. Or I seek it out. I know I'm guaranteed to be happy afterwards. So
yeah, it never I hadn't seen it in a while, and when we watched it again, I was like, it is just as good as it was then. It has aged flawlessly. It's even better now because of the crazy 90s nostalgia. So it's 2 levels of nostalgia working at once.
Okay. Before I get to my number 2, I'm going to read out some more top 10 lists. David Assassino. His number 10 is The Doom Generation. His number 9 is The Brady Bunch Movie. His number 8 is Showgirls. 7, Welcome to the Dollhouse. 6, In the Mouth of Madness. 5, Rumble in the Bronx. 4, Party Girl. 3, Clueless. 2, 12 Monkeys. And number 1 is 7. Thank you, David. Celeste Heika. She has a couple notes here. Honorable mentions go to Doom Generation, Prophecy, Haunted, and Living in Oblivion. Her number 10 is Dolores Claiborne. I read the book shortly before the movie came out because I was one of those kids who read Stephen King in 6th and 7th grade. So I really enjoyed the movie when I saw it. Certainly doesn't get as much love as Misery, but I think it's great. I love Jennifer Jason Leigh in it too. Number 9, The Basketball Diaries. Again, read the book first with this one. Wasn't quite as good as the book, but it's definitely one of my favorites with DiCaprio. Pair it with Tough Turf, and you've got a Jim Carroll-centered double feature. I like that idea. Number 8, Lord of Illusions. Really need to rewatch soon, but love this one. I do too. Number 7, Clueless. Although it didn't impact me as much as the of other films at the time, I could not deny my love and admiration for Clueless. Number 6, To Wong Fu. So much fun, and if I'm in a bad mood, I could watch this one and feel instantly better about life in general. Much love for To Wong Fu. Number 5, Kids. Seeing it at age 12, Kids was what I thought my life was probably going to be like in a few years. I'm actually glad I saw it when I did, because not only did it introduce me to Chloe Sevigny, but the importance of looking out for myself with drugs and sex as I got older. It scared me and excited me at the same time. Pretty impactful. Number 4, Showgirls. Only just saw semi-recently, and I can't wait to watch again. One of the most fun times I've ever had watching a movie. Number 3, Hackers. So much fun to watch now because it's like a time capsule and takes me back to that age. Number 2, Mad Love. I didn't see it until maybe a year or so after release, but it introduced me to the band 7 Year Bitch. I was a major Drew Barrymore fan at the time. Big influence. I'm also a major Drew Barrymore fan too, by the way. Love her.
Me too.
Number 1, Welcome to the Dollhouse. I was visiting my cool aunt in Denver that summer, and I begged her to take me to see it. This was also the aunt who rented Kids for me. Of both movies, she warned, do not tell your mother. What a life changer. Not only for the story, but it was a new way to see film. Probably my first experience with independent film. Dawn Wiener forever. Thank you, Celeste. And Patrick Walsh, just a couple here. Showgirls, Babe, Brady Bunch. Welcome to the Dollhouse. Oh, yeah. That's what he said. And Jorg Bauer. Number 10, Toy Story. Number 9, French Kiss. Number 8, Kiss of Death. Number 7, Get Shorty. 6, Casino. 5, Braveheart. 4, Dolores Claiborne. 3, 7, 2, Heat. And 1, The Usual Suspects. Clearly we pissed off some people with Usual Suspects and 7 Hate.
I know. Respect, too. I hope they forgive me.
We love a lot of movies. We just happen to not like those. All right, guys. Here is my number 2. Here we go.
How you feeling?
Still have this head thing.
Well, what the hell is going on here?
It's in the air, in the water, in our homes.
Oh my God.
It cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be stopped.
So we can turn it on and off like a switch. We just don't know how to make it go away.
It is not alien.
Get back!
It is not viral.
You are perfectly healthy. You might want to consult someone.
Psychiatrist.
It is not natural to this earth.
Your family and friends tell you that you're overreacting.
Where can you go when no place is
Safe. It's out there.
Okay, so that was the... Okay, guys, so I didn't include a lot of horror movies on my list today. I guess horror wasn't really big in 1995. Probably why. In the Mouth of Madness was the other horror movie. I kind of consider this movie to be a horror movie. That was the trailer for Safe. It really creeped me out when I saw it. I wasn't sure exactly what I was in for when I went to see Safe in 1985 at the Angelica. And when I did see it, I'm like, wow, this movie is really, really disturbing. 1, and 2, what a great performance by Julianne Moore, who was kind of on a roll in the 90s. Man, was she on the roll in the 90s, right?
She's always on a roll,
She's
yeah.
still on a roll, yeah. But I just was kind of blown away by it. Wasn't super familiar with Todd Haynes' movies by then. I think I explored them after I went to see Safe. I know I watched his earlier movies and and just got really into them, and like Poison, and eventually the Karen Carpenter one, which is great and amazing. Yeah. And he of course had a big movie last year with Carol, which got snubbed at the Golden Globes. But what do they know? What do they know, right? I don't know. It's Safe. Safe just kind of blew me away. I just think it just gets an atmosphere that's kind of uncommon in movies. It gets under your skin. It's about a woman who's suffering from a disease that she's unsure of. It might be because of her environment. There are no clear answers in this movie, which makes it even more creepy. And I love the places that it goes, and I think Julianne Moore really inhabits the role really well, and you just completely feel bad for her. I mean, it's kind of like almost like a character like Sissy Spacek in Carrie. It's funny that she went on to be in the Carrie remake with her, whereas this character just kind of completely helpless, and then just kind of gets succumbed to this disease that she can't control, and takes her to some dark places, and kind of alienates her family, and I just like what Todd Haynes has to say in his movies, and whether it's allusions to other things going on in the culture, and I just I was kind of blown away by it, and I still the memory of watching it in that theater just really stays with me. What's your thoughts on Safe?
I did not see this during its original theatrical release, but I was lucky enough to see it years later in 35 millimeter for the first time, and I had very much the same reaction as you. I don't think, I knew Todd Haynes from. I mean, I'd seen Poison and the Superstar and Far From Heaven and whatever, but I don't think I was expecting Safe to be as disturbing and scary as it was, and it was. It really chilled me, and so much so that I actually haven't watched it since then. I got the Blu-ray so I could watch it for this podcast again, and then I just didn't end up watching it, but I'm going to. And yeah, I mean, I know this as Julianne Moore's first major lead role in a movie. It's very possible there was one before that I'm not thinking of, but what a great debut. I can't even imagine what it must have been like to see it at the time before, you knew exactly what she was capable of. And it really, it's so interesting because it kind of represents a, time and place that I usually associate more with 80s comedies, and that I think of as a very pleasing thing that I want to see, like suburbia in the valley in the 80s in LA. It's like, right. That's so joyful, and it makes it so grotesque and horrifying, and that's, I think, brilliant. I love it. It's one of my very, very favorite Todd Haynes movies. It actually, I'm not exactly a typical queer graduate student because I don't love every single one of his movies, although the ones that I love, I really, really do love. And that and Carol actually might be at the top of my list, followed by Far From Heaven, which I'm a great fan of, and Superstar also. I love most of them. I mean, I think Mildred Pierce is brilliant, but I don't like Velvet Goldmine. That's the big thing that makes me different from everybody else. And there's one other one that he made that I didn't like. I don't remember what it is. But anyway, he's a brilliant. I shouldn't say anything bad about him. And Safe is brilliant.
It really is. I like when I think of the movie, I think of beige because her life is very beige until it becomes very like dark and depressing and weird, and it's also set in the 80s, right? I believe.
Yeah, late 80s, I think.
Yeah, and there's that scene where she goes to the gym and it's Madonna. I remember being kind of like, it's kind of fun.
I can't believe that Jason and I were saying this the other day when we watched the first few scenes of the Blu-ray. We couldn't believe that they got the rights to Lucky Star.
I know, it's kind of jarring when you see it. Like, oh wow, Madonna in this little movie that would cost like $1 million to make, or I don't think it actually even grossed like half that when it came. It didn't do very well, but I eventually found a life on home video where a lot of people watched it. But so yeah, it was surprising when seeing it because it kind of it's like a the edit, it's very the jump to Madonna is very, very quick and kind of wakes you up a bit from her beige life. And it's very, her outfit, her workout outfit's very 80s too. I remember that.
It's one of the weirdest scenes ever because you think of a scene like that as so joyful, and it's so not.
Right, because it leads where it goes. And that's what I love about the movie. That atmosphere in the movie, just it's so unusual for movies. Like you said, it's like it takes that suburban setting, which you think it's going to be something else, and it takes it to somewhere, takes it to another place, and that's not seen in movies. And I love that. And I love her, the place she goes to, and she meets these people who are kind of like her, and they're suffering from similar problems, and it just kind of makes you scared of breathing.
Yes,
I mean, just when you're scared of breathing, like I don't know where you can go from there, right?
I related to Julianne Moore when I was at home because we use all this like Whole Foods, like fragrance-free laundry detergent and all this crap. And when I was back at home, I did the laundry, and my mom uses like Tide or whatever. And first of all, the smell, I used to use it all the time, but it was so potent. And then my skin was like breaking out in like rashes because we started using the fragrance-free stuff because of that. But I was like, holy shit, I'm Julianne Moore and safe. Like, I'm allergic to the environment. What am I going to do?
Oh my god, all the skin crazy problems we've had since we've been in Southern California is just insane. Like my poor wife has been suffering from all these things. Our daughter we had suddenly eczema and like all the stuff that like we never had skin problems before.
I got eczema when I moved to Southern California too.
I don't know what it is with Southern California and skin problems. Like Benicio got scabies like in Southern California, which he never had before, like any skin problems and stuff. It's just weird. I just don't know what's going on in the air, but it's out there.
I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one who that happened to, because I assumed it was just me, but I'm like allergic to the air here.
It's so weird. And I thought I was escaping my allergy problems in New York, because New York, you have all that, you just have all that foliage, and you just have all those blooming flowers in the spring, and here it's like almost desert. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have those problems, but yep, I do. It seems like even worse. Strange, right?
I'm sure everyone on the Retro Movie Love podcast loves to hear about how California is harming our skin.
But we love it. Okay, guys, let's get to our number ones. So here is the trailer for yours.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named
Muriel.
Muriel.
Are you Muriel Heslop? No.
all she ever dreamed about was getting married.
Looks like I'm next.
There was only one thing missing. A groom.
No one's ever gonna marry you. You've never even had a boyfriend.
Muriel's on the dole.
You never wear the right clothes.
You mental case! You keep away from us!
But before she can find a future,
I'm gonna be a success, Mum. I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna be a success.
she has to find herself.
You are wicked. Well, stick with me, because I'm wicked too.
Rhonda changed my life.
She would.
Oh, by the way, I'm not alone. I'm with Muriel.
Now, the girl she used to be has changed.
I've got one.
Well, it's a start.
We just want to know you're all right, love.
Into the woman she always was.
Muriel, are you all right?
You're terrible, Muriel. This is my new life. I'm a new person.
Miramax Films invites you to celebrate the most unexpected event of the year. Muriel's wedding.
Muriel? You're beautiful.
Oh my god, this is epic. I mean, Muriel's wedding Muriel's wedding and like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Carrie are probably the three most important movies of my entire, like, the first 20 years of my life. That really might be true, actually. That they might be the top three. Well, no, Valley of the Dolls. Forget it. I'm not going to try to make these definitive lists. But, I mean, I cannot underestimate the importance of Muriel's Wedding to me. I saw it in the theater when it came out. I saw it with a friend of mine who I'm no longer friends with. And an example of why is that I remember when we were going into the movie, he said to me, "You know that they're going to have accents, don't you?" Like, I wasn't sophisticated enough to appreciate a movie with people with accents in it. So very toxic, very exemplifying the kind of relationships I had at that time. But this was one of the most exhilarating movie-going experiences that I had ever had. It was very rare at that time that movies would, or even now, that movies would represent what it's like to get completely, just to have entertainment be the air that you breathe to keep you alive. And Toni Collette, Muriel's relationship to ABBA in this movie it spoke to me so deeply and on such a profound level that it was just, I felt suddenly I wasn't alone in my life anymore. And this was the first time I ever heard ABBA. So that was incredible too, to hear this music being, oh my God, what is this? It's the most beautiful music I've ever heard. So of course it, led me to go out and buy the albums. It's interesting because I was saying earlier that Heavyweights triggered me because I had a lot of insecurity over my own weight, and it just, for some reason, it hit too close to home. But Muriel's Wedding was the exact opposite. I loved that there was this bigger woman whose friends were toxic, who felt alone, who just kind of who wasn't at ease in her own skin or in her own life, who has this experience where she makes a real friend and she moves away and she becomes somebody else and realizes that, men will be attracted to her and that she can be her own person. I mean, her changing her name to Mariel. I mean, that I just can't even tell you how much after I left home and went to college, I felt like I was Mariel versus Muriel. And there's a scene now that when I watch it, it gives me chills so much when she's in the bridal shop, and what happens in the movie, she becomes best friends with Rachel Griffiths, and they have this wonderful life together in Sydney. And then Rachel Griffiths, not Brenda, she was later Brenda. What the hell's her name in it? Do you remember?
I don't remember her name offhand.
Anyway, it'll come to me. But she gets cancer and has to have surgery on her spine and becomes paralyzed. And it takes a very tragic turn. I'm not going to ruin everything. But Muriel is obsessed with getting married. And that was something I related to also. I was very obsessed with finding romantic love. Even when I was like in elementary school. This was, it was like, if you ever watched Modern Family, the Manny character, I was very much like that. Like I watched too many movies. I just wanted to fall in love. And when I was 12 and saw Muriel's Wedding, that seemed like the last thing on earth that was ever going to happen. And that was something I struggled with for most of my life until I met Jason. So, this is where it gets real. I mean, this movie is the deepest, darkest emotions. So there's a scene in the bridal where Muriel's obsessed with getting married. She starts going around town trying on bridal dresses and having them take pictures of her to put in a wedding album just because she wants to see herself being a bride. So she's in her bridal gown, and Brenda sees her in the store, is like, what the fuck is happening? You're getting married, you're leaving me, like what's going on? And Toni Collette says, I wanted to get married because if I got married, then I wasn't her anymore, I was me. And Brenda's like, who? And she's like, Muriel. And she's like, you are Muriel. She's like, no, I'm Mariel. I'm talking about Muriel, stupid, sad Muriel. I hate her. And I almost cry when I watch that movie because that's exactly how I really felt about myself as a child for a long time. And I've tried to kind of get over that and not hate myself when the person I was when this movie came out. But this movie is really like, I say this about a very rare few movies, but it's like home movies of my deepest, darkest emotional life at that time. And it was incredibly empowering. Even the tragic elements, even the idea that they kind of overcome this tragedy and end up together with this close friendship. It was just everything I needed to see, and everything I needed to know that life could be. It was just, I can't even describe it. I watched it again on Blu-ray recently. It's only on Blu-ray in Australia, and I really recommend it because I bought a Laserdisc player just so I could get Muriel's Wedding and not pay $100 for it when you still have to pay $100 for VHS tapes when they first came out. I bought Muriel's Wedding and Showgirls. Those were the two first Laserdiscs that I bought. And so I had it for years, and I watched it on Netflix. But to see it on Blu-ray, on home video for some reason, it really lost the garish, spectacular colors of the theater. And I forgot that. And when I saw it on Blu-ray, I was like, wow, yeah, I remember it being this gorgeous in the theater and this well-designed colorfully. And it's weird that, for a fairly modern movie, it lost that on home video. So it was great revisiting it again. And it's really it's always a very intense emotional experience for me to watch this movie. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful. I'm almost going to start crying for Toni Collette's performance in this movie because it just helped me so much. So Toni Collette, I hope you're out there listening. Oh my God. I can't even sing its praises highly enough. What about you? What are your thoughts on this movie? I just went on forever, by the way. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. You have a deep emotional connection to it. I love that. Also, my wife, this is her favorite movie of 1995 as well. So you guys love this movie a lot. I love this movie too. I think it's so well made. It was a P.J. Hogan, right? Director that.
Yeah.
He. I think that he puts his real heart into this movie and really wears it on his sleeve. And it's a character who I guess goes to some pretty dark places and emotionally and this is not a character you would see in a Hollywood movie for sure.
No.
I think you would just consider this person as crazy, right? Kind of who's living this lie and just trying to keep it up for as long as she can because she doesn't want to deal with the reality. And it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's really funny and she's Toni Collette is such the major discovery of 1995, really, in her performance, and she's had a great career since then, and I think she even deserves more leading roles like this, where she could really fully exploit her talents as an actress, and she's a character that you really connect to, but also can see where she's making all these mistakes and you just you kind of see the car crashes happening before they're happening within her life and you don't want her to take those roads she takes, but she does. And I just love that I love the places that it goes, and it goes to some unexpected places too, and her quest to be a married woman and the family, her awful family.
Watching it now, I think it's kind of interesting that I was so uplifted by it when I saw it in the theater because it's so incredibly tragic. And it's unbelievable. Like, I talk about it now, like, it's such a great role model movie for me, but it's very deeply tragic. But I needed to see that too. But go on, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I just feel like they don't really make movies like this anymore.
Well, I feel like they never did.
They never did, right?
Before and they didn't after.
A pretty one of a kind movie, and Australian films were definitely having their moment in the mid '90s with Priscilla, this, and a few others, and it was great to see it and discovering its quirkiness and its charms, and he also did another wedding movie, right? P.J. Hogan. Now that I think about it,
My Best Friend's Wedding.
My Best Friend's Wedding. Yes,
which is fabulous too.
Yes, not quite as satisfying as a movie.
No,
but it was a quick rebound from for Julia Roberts in that movie, and kind of showing you the classic Julia Roberts, and then maybe a little bit downward after that.
Classic Julia Roberts, and yet like the classical Julia Roberts made into a pathological character.
Right. Right, which is
is
similar, I
everything
guess, yeah. Similar a bit to the pathological character of Muriel in a way.
Yeah.
Funny how they both have leading characters who take those dark turns, but could have been even more so in My Best Friend's Wedding. But that was a bit more of a Hollywood movie, so I don't know. I just really loved it, and I'm glad you picked it. And ABBA, yeah, I wasn't really. I guess I knew of ABBA, but I just didn't really listen to much ABBA music before this movie, and I thought all the songs were great, and I loved their performances. And
oh yeah,
them singing the ABBA song together, and it's so perfect. And
I also love less highly rated are her bimbo friends singing "The Tide Is High" and the dorky guy singing the Peter Allen song. I was like, why do they have the best taste in music in Australia in 1995 and not here?
That's right. I love that she worked in a video store.
Oh yes,
that's perfect. I can relate to that.
She just watched Princess Di's wedding video over and over and over again. It's so good. Yes. There were really good poster sightings in that movie too.
Her crazy scrapbook and just love those scenes. I love how like a scene of comedy, like the scene where she has a really awkward date with a guy, and she brings him home, and her friend and roommate is sleeping with two guys, and it becomes crazy, and it kind of leads to a tragic moment too at the same time. Just like that, the movie could be so light and dark at the same time.
Yeah.
So well done. Great movie. Anything else to add?
No, what else could I say? That's it.
All right, some more top 10s here. Let's finish them off, okay, guys? What we got left here? Okay, Leo Logan. His number 10 is Casper. Number 9 is Species. Number 8 is Get Shorty. Number 7 is Bad Boys. Number 6 is Virtuosity. Number 5 is Congo. Number 4 is Outbreak. Number 3 is Mortal Kombat. Number 2 is Jumanji. Number 1 is Apollo 13. Jason Blanco. He has a fairly long list here. My list of 10 best and worst for that year were printed in a long defunct Boston rag I wrote for. Interesting to see differences between then and now. Certainly there were a number of films wouldn't have been my thing per se, anime, Disney, that ended up high on my list of tops. There were Party Girl Screamers and Tales from the Hood or of Doomed Generations, and we had Die Hard and Underneath New York, and Living in Oblivion showed the way we made movies, and Jeffy was quietly subversive and important. But brevity impels me to whittle 60 or so down to 20 or so, and hope they are shared and appreciated. Normally I stick with American output for these because otherwise it'd be a top 40 list, but a few from outside the US were too seminal not to include. Number 20, Copycat for the two lead ladies alone. Number 19, The Glass Shield, largely forgotten, still relevant. Number 18, Beyond Rangoon, Patty Arquette and an old school star turn. Number 17, New York Stories, Little Odessa. James Gray is the great unsung American filmmaker of roughly my generation. And the other New York story is New Jersey Drive, come back Nick Gomez. Number 16, Safe. Number 15, Unstrung Heroes. Number 14, existential revisionist horror ahead of its time, The Day of the Beast. Honestly, a mini masterpiece. And The Addiction, seen twice at the Angelico. Number 13 is Dead Presidents. Number 12 is Reckless and Home for the Holidays, which are both quirky, earthy holiday classics. Number 11, Toy Story. Number 10, Devil in a Blue Dress. Number 9, Strange Days. Number 8, Babe. Number 7, Crumb. Number 6, Ghost in the Shell, prescient as ever. Number 5 is Heat, still epic. Number 4, Clean Shaven. Listed as 93, writer-director Lars Kerrigan continued adding footage for 2 years, after which it made art house rounds in 95, where I saw it at several midnight shows. Peter Green is as good as it gets. It's also a John Waters favorite. Number 3 is 12 Monkeys, also prescient. Number 2 is Clockers. And his number 1 is Seven, one of few films I've seen more than twice at a cinema as an adult. It still feels fresh and edgy and sad and profound. Also in a category of their own, the devastating and still wholly, sadly relevant Bandit Queen and Once Were Warriors. Thank you.
I'm very shocked that Jason Blanco and I have this divergence on 7. That actually makes me think that I need to see 7 again. He's another one who I agree with all the time, and we share very similar life outlooks. So, all right, you persuaded me, Jason Blanco. I will.
I'm glad he mentioned Clean Shaven. I think that's an underrated movie, too.
I've never seen it.
It's good. Okay, and here's one from Quentin Dunn. And his number 10 is The Bridges of Madison County. His number 9 is The Last Supper. His number 8 is Dead Man Walking. Number 7, Mallrats. Number 6, Clueless. Number 5, Casino. Number 4, The Brady Bunch Movie. Number 3, While You Were Sleeping. Number 2, Before Sunrise. And number 1, Babe. And honorable mentions go to The American President and Showgirls. Thanks, Quentin. We'll have to talk to you soon about that. Top 10.
I like that Babe was his number 1.
Yeah.
Babe was so cute that it almost made me sad.
Yeah, I'm not into, like, a big thing for me is talking animal movies, so I'm not really into those movies, but I think probably Babe is the best of those talking animal movies. For me, at least. And then I have one here that's an audio list. So
awesome.
The last one we'll leave as an audio. Here it is. This one's from Shane Bassett, who's a loyal follower of the show. Thank you, Shane. Here we go.
G'day. This is Shane A. Bassett, film critic and movie analyst, coming at you live from Down Under on Retro Movie Love. Hi, Ben. Hi, Michael. This is just a quick rundown of what I thought was pretty fucking cool in 1995. Alright, in no particular order, top 10. Swimming with Sharks. Remember this movie with Kevin Spacey? He was tortured by paper cuts. I always talk about that if people say, oh, I'm having a bad day. And I always say to you, well, have you been tortured by paper cuts like Kevin Spacey was in Swimming with Sharks? And they just look at you and go, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because Swimming with Sharks is one of the favourite movies of mine in 1995. Now, to continue, in no particular order, is Empire Records. How cool is Empire Records? Soundtrack, check. Cast, check. Everything about it, check. It's a cult favourite. Yeah. Alright, next is Mute Witness. Now, Mute Witness is a horror slash... No, it's not a horror slasher. It is a horror slash thriller with Alec Guinness. Now, Alec Guinness played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And this was his last role. Cool movie, a little bit offensive about snuff movies, but trust me, great thriller, Mute Witness. Next up, Clueless. Oh, how cool is Clueless? It's influential, and I love it. It holds up. I watched it recently. Next up, 12 Monkeys. Now, Bruce Willis is one of my favourite actors, and yes, he acts and he doesn't act in certain movies, but in this movie, he does act. Yeah. Catch it if you can. And there was a TV show called 12 Monkeys. It had one season this year in 2015. Whether it continues, I do not know, but it was pretty good too. Next up, 7. Oh boy, 7 is one of those movies where I watched it at the film centre, which is usually called the bloody cinema, and I don't know why I just called it the film centre. It's Better Than Sex. Oh, please don't argue with me, because Gwyneth Paltrow, Kevin Spacey, and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt just do their best. Great film. 7. Still in my top 10 to this day. The next movie on my list is called Amateur. Now, Amateur is a movie by Hal Hartley. He is a independent director that, people may like, may not like, but he uses a lot of his regular actors in this film, Amateur, and it is funny. I liked it. It's also got some dramatic moments, which really helps, because I don't really know if people would make... I don't know. It held my attention, but if for other people, I'm not so sure. Heat. Yes, Heat. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. They are joined together again in the same scene, in the same frame. So cool. How good is that? That's Michael Mann, directed by, and it's probably one of his last best movies, actually. He did Public Enemies and a few other things after that. Yeah, not great. And last but not least, can I do an honourable mention? Maybe I can do two honourable mentions. Waterworld and Showgirls. Two of the biggest flops of all time in 1 year. Waterworld and Showgirls, but to this day, they are the coolest, and people love those movies. They're cult films. So this is Shane Bassett signing off, and I love you guys. Take it easy, Michael and Ben. You two know everything about bloody movies more than I do, and that makes me happy. Bye.
Okay, Shane, great. Thank you for that list, and thank you for sending in some audio. Love it. And now I'm going to reveal my number one. What is it? What haven't I talked about? Oh, here it is. Here's the trailer.
So, okay, like right now, for example, the Haitians need to come to America. But some people are all, what about the strain on our resources? And it's like, when I had this garden party for my father's birthday, right? People came that, like, did not RSVP. So I was, like, totally bugging. I had to haul ass to the kitchen, squish in extra place settings, and, like, people were on mismatched chairs and all. But by the end of the day, it was like, the more, the merrier. And so, if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians.
Wow. You guys talk like grown-ups.
Oh, well, this is a really good school.
Mr. Hall was way harsh. He gave me a C-.
Well, he gave me a C, which drags down my entire average.
Hello? There was a stop sign?
I totally paused. You try driving in platforms.
Oh, should I write them a note?
Ew! Get off of me! As if.
Cher's got attitude about high school boys.
It's a personal choice every woman has got to make for themselves.
Cher's saving herself for Luke Perry.
Cher, you're a virgin? I mean, I'm not prude. I'm just highly selective. I mean, you see how picky I am about my shoes, and they only go on my feet.
Nice stems.
Thanks.
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
What are you doing? Yo, you getting on the freeway! Get on the
You go, girl.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Whatever. Did I miss something? Is Big Hair back?
Amber, my plastic surgeon doesn't want me doing any activity where balls fly at my nose.
Well, there goes your social life.
I'm gonna be a supermodel.
Okay, so that's the trailer for Clueless. I, of course, love teen movies, and Clueless, you probably know me by now, made my number one because I just love it. I think, for me, Clueless is the most memorable movie-going experience of 1995. When I went to see it, I just knew it was from the director of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and that it was a teen movie, so I'm like, oh, sold. And I went to see it. It was a sneak preview before it came out and before the reviews hit, and I guess before it became a big hit. And I just fell in love with this movie. It's so quotable. It's become so quotable, and there's so much sparkling dialogue, and the performance by Alicia Silverstone is so charming that I just completely fall in love with her and the movie every time I watch it. And since then, I saw it a few times that summer. I think I just kept going back for more because Clueless, even though it's about a girl who's rich and someone I wouldn't normally connect to, I just think this movie kind of goes out of its way to make her likable and charming and just a character you kind of aspire to be in a way. I just kind of want to live her life in a way, even though she's someone who's maybe not so bright about certain things, and I just wanted to be a clueless character. I wanted to live in this clueless world of rich kids who had these fabulous parties in life in LA, and kind of made me fall in love with all of that. I just love that it was based on Jane Austen and then kind of taken into very 90s territory. It's a very 90s film, like some others on this list, but I feel like this even more so in a way because it really captures the time period. I love that it's a movie so much about its geography in LA and talk of freeways and of transportation all the time. And now that I live in California, I kind of totally understand it and get it and get why people are always talking about cars and going to places, and because as you know, just getting around is such a big deal in LA, and because everything's so spread out and far, and I just love this movie so much. I'm not gonna go on about it because I feel like everyone's seen Clueless and knows what it is, and I think that it's for me a movie that just sends me right back to 1995, going to the movies in the summer of '95, and being 20 and watching a teen movie that just made me feel like it was something that's out of the '80s in a way. The '90s version of an '80s teen movie just was perfection for me, and still is. I think it still holds up. The only other movie my favorite movie of 1995 was Showgirls, really, but I covered that on a podcast. But I think Clueless and Showgirls to me are like far and away the best movies of 1995, and no other movies can kind of touch it in their amazingness and their 90s-ness and I just love them. What are your thoughts on Clueless?
That would be a great double feature, actually. Clueless is one of those movies that's almost too mammoth that I can't even see it or speak of it. I say that sometimes, like, it's just too much. But I definitely, of course, I mean, I love this movie so much. I feel like our whole 1995 podcast should basically have just been going through it minute by minute and talking about every shot. So I'm not going to go into it too much either, because what else can you say? Every single thing about it is perfection to me. But I saw an amazing double feature of Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Clueless, where Amy Heckerling was actually in attendance, and she did the day after, and it was great because sometimes in LA, the Q&As, the people asking the questions, they aren't exactly the questions you'd want to ask, and it's frustrating. And she was just like not taking that. She was just like, I'm going to not answer that question and say something totally brilliant instead, because I'm Amy Heckerling. And, I knew that Clueless was based on Emma. I'm ashamed to say I didn't know that until I saw the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma movie the next year and was like, oh my God, this is like totally Clueless. But hearing Amy Heckerling talk about how she adapted Emma and was thinking about what different kind of social commentary from Emma, how would that convert to Los Angeles in 1995? I mean, she thought it through brilliantly, and it was really, I just appreciated it so much. She's incredibly intelligent and amazing to listen to, as most people who make great films like Clueless are. Yeah, and just what you were saying, like, I loved Clueless when it came out. I saw it on video a million times, but I totally didn't fully get it until I moved to LA. And that scene where, everyone says this, but the scene where Alicia Silverstone and Dion drive on the freeway, that's exactly what it was like when I drove on the freeway for the first, 200 times. And every scene with her driving is just like how I was as a driver in my first few months in LA, being a former New Yorker. I love it so much, and I agree. It really does. It just brings you back. Paramount was just on fire in the 90s. That was, I think, still the Sherry Lansing era, and I love everything that was made at Paramount under Sherry Lansing.
I feel like a movie like Clueless wouldn't be green lit these days, because it's almost too smart to be a teen movie.
Isn't that crazy to think? Like, one green like Clueless. I mean, I always say this, and I don't know if it's really true or not, but it feels like there barely are major teen movies anymore.
Oh yeah, I feel like they're just teen dramas or YA adaptations. The teen comedy, as we know, is kind of dead.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's become teen romance and dramas, and that's the big thing now, right? And that makes me sad. That's kind of why I'm always going back to like teen movies in the 80s and 90s, because I feel like those are the movies I connected to at the time, and I really want to keep watching those movies. They don't make them anymore, so
I really think the best genres for representing teen life are comedy and horror. I mean, that is what teen life is. It is funny and it is terrifying.
Right.
And the fact that both of those are not being utilized right now, I mean, what are teenagers going to do? I don't know.
I know. Like, why I feel bad for teenagers. I honestly feel bad for this generation of kids who are not watching these kinds of movies for the first time and in theaters, and just because what are you watching? You're not watching anything good. You're watching superhero movies and boring teen dramas that don't say anything interesting. So,
if I get to teach my intro to film style class again to undergraduates, which I really hope I do, we're going to have a seminar day where I'm like, you're going to tell me all the most meaningful experiences you had of seeing movies in the theater, because I want to know. Because, obviously film is very meaningful to them because they want to be filmmakers, and a lot of them have a tremendous knowledge of film history, but I want to know what are the current movies that made them excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. I'm thinking like the screenplay is so perfect, and why wasn't it nominated for an Academy? I feel like it deserved it not to win, to even be nominated, because it's such a brilliant screenplay.
That could not be more true.
I'm looking at the list of like best adapted screenplay. It's like Il Postino, Leaving Las Vegas, Babe, Apollo 13, and Sense and Sensibility 1. I don't know. I just think Clueless could have been squeezed in there. Certainly over Babe and Il Postino, which I did.
Il Postino. It's like, come on. I remember, though, in 1995, everybody raving about Il Postino. Maybe I'd probably love it if I saw it now, but I resented it then.
I mean, well, all the movies nominated that year were like the same movies were nominated. Like Braveheart was like nominated in every category, and Sense and Sensibility, like the same movies. It was kind of a boring year for Academy Awards. One of the few like bright spots was Wallace and Gromit. I really got into Wallace Gromit after that one, the Close Shave. I really like Wallace and Gromit stuff. But everything else, like the movie that you hate, Usual Suspects, won an Academy Award.
Of course.
That won a couple of Academy Awards, and just like no. Anyway,
The Usual Suspects, but not Clueless. I'll allow. Fine, The Usual Suspects can win some Academy Awards, but in a year when Clueless isn't even nominated, I just can't tolerate it.
It's such a brilliant movie, and I know it's not immediately thought of as brilliant, but do you remember the TV series?
I do remember it. I didn't ever watch it, though.
I didn't really watch it either, because I felt like if it's not Alicia Silverstone, why am I bothering? Because she really inhabits that character.
It was on for a long time, though, wasn't it?
I think it was on for a few years, and I know Amy Heckerling directed some of the episodes too, which is interesting. But I just never got around to watching it. So, did you ever listen to the commentary on Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yeah, I'm sure I did when it first came out, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing commentary. I think you would remember it. It's like her and Cameron Crowe talking for like 2.5 hours. It actually goes past the end of the movie. The commentary keeps going on because they're just having a conversation. And
I didn't listen to it. I'm gonna have to get it up.
I think you should. I just love listening to her, and I wish Clueless had a commentary. I would just listen to her talk about it all day long.
Yes,
and I'm jealous that you got to listen. You got to hear her talk about her take on it, because I've always wanted to hear her talk about it more. That's pretty awesome. Did you know bit of trivia, since you love musicals so much, that the water fountain scene towards the end was borrowed from Gigi?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently that water fountain scene where she has the epiphany that she's in love with Paul Rudd. And Paul Rudd this is definitely a breakout performance too. He was really charming in it.
Yes, very charming.
Sorry, fans of Halloween 6, and someone who said that Paul Rudd's favorite movie is best movie is Halloween 6, but Clueless was definitely the discovery of Paul Rudd. But that scene where with the water fountain was borrowed from Gigi, and also the scene where she's on her getting ready for her date with Christian, and standing at the top of the stairs was borrowed from Gigi as well. That moment.
I got Gigi on Blu-ray for Christmas, and I was just telling Jason I want to watch it this weekend, so I'm going to appreciate it all anew, I think.
Gigi Clueless, the good double feature there, I forget.
Yes.
Again, like, because it's so popular, it's hard to talk about movies that are so popular, everyone's seen them, but we love what we love, and I think, to me, Clueless is the best teen movie from the 90s, and Fast Times with Ridgemont High was one of the best teen movies from the 80s, so she was really on a roll, and I wish she can keep it up in movies, but I don't think Amy Heckerling gets as much stuff greenlit anymore. I don't know why, because
she's too smart.
Almost too smart. Definitely too smart for Hollywood, which is sad.
Did you see that vampire movie she made with Felicity Silverstone?
I did, unfortunately, see that movie.
Oh,
I didn't get it. Maybe I just thought it was not good. Maybe I'm missing something, or something happened during production. I just couldn't believe that the same person who made Clueless made this movie. But
Loser was kind of disappointing too. It was shocking.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. I kind of liked it, but at the same time, it was definitely disappointing. I think with better, I'm afraid to say better actors, it probably would have been a bit more charming. I don't know. I just didn't really care as much for the characters, sadly. But she's made some great movies, so we can't discount those. And hopefully she has another one in her. I love that we each picked a movie from a female director. I feel like female directors don't get as much love too.
I know, it's very true.
Yeah.
And they're so great. Yeah. Sometimes I think that we should have a female director episode, but then sometimes I think one of my best friends wrote her dissertation on female directors of the 70s, and she gets annoyed sometimes when people just do things for female directors, because she's like, they should be fully integrated all the time. Like, they shouldn't be isolated on their own episode. So that's why I never really propose it. But at the same time...
like, I don't know if Hollywood's doing anything for female directors, so...
We might as well, yeah. To celebrate them,
unless you're like that's the one or two, right? Like if you're Catherine Bigelow or someone else, right? I don't know.
Yeah, and it frustrates me that I'm sure I love Catherine Bigelow. She's a great director. And women should be able to. I don't want to say anything like controversial. Women should be able to direct as macho movies as they want, but I think there's something a little irksome about the fact that she is the one who gets all of the attention from the Hollywood establishment because all of the movies she makes are so macho. You know, it's like I feel that she should be getting all of that, those accolades and those awards, but I think Nicole Holofcener should also.
Yes.
It's not just that Nicole Holofcener's movies are all about women, but I just wish that, people would be rewarded so much for writing, nice little character studies that take place in cities in addition to big war, terrorism, torture movies. But, whatever. It's okay. I love them. Good for Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah. We can only wait for the next Nicole movie. Hopefully it'll be soon. We want you to make more movies. I think she's doing something on TV, though.
Oh, like her own series?
Possibly. I'm not sure. She wrote something for TV. I remember reading something about that, but maybe it was just talk of it, not something that came about. I don't know. But anyway, we want her to make more New York and LA movies, please. All right, so those were our top 10s, really, and then some. So thank you guys for listening to us talk so much about them.
Yes, thank you. It's been fun.
It has been, and I'm sure we'll be back to talk about a lot more. I think we'll probably be moving back into 80s territory soon. I know I'm going to probably do a podcast when I get to Long Beach next month or at the end of this month sometime, and then we have a podcast idea that we want to talk about, right? That we want to get together hopefully soon.
I think we do. I don't know which one you're talking about, but I'm sure that we do.
Yeah.
We have at least one that we've been tossing back and forth.
Yeah, I think the one that I think we kind of mentioned it a long time ago, and then kind of bubbled up again about media. So.
Oh right, yes.
So we'll get to that one, and then hopefully more shows in the future, many more shows in the future. So thank you everyone for following the show. And all our podcasts are on iTunes and retromovielove.com. You can email us at meep@cinemademeep.com or retromovielove@gmail.com. You can haunt us on Facebook. Ben Sher and myself, Michael Ferrari, we're on Facebook, and our pages are what are our pages? Retro Movie Love and Cinema to Meep. Where else can they chase you down?
You could find I'm taking a hiatus from doing my freelance writing because I'm teaching and doing another job this quarter, and I'm just swamped. But in the next 3 months, I'm going to start writing again for Shout Factory and Chiller TV. But you could find my old work there, and you could find some of my old writing on my blog at Eyes of Ben Sher. And honestly, if you want to see me write things regularly, you should friend me on Facebook, because that's unfortunately the only place I really do writing now.
That's kind of my life right now. Just like, it's so busy that you just you don't have a lot. We just don't have a lot of time to go out to those outlets of writing. But
and also I want to give I won a contest. I won a ton of amazing Arrow and Scream Factory and Severine Blu-rays from this website Eurocult AV. I won their annual contest, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I want to give them some advertising too, just to thank them. So go to eurocultav.com. It's a really great Blu-ray DVD review website for the kind of movies that I know a lot of you like.
I noticed, I saw that your picture on Facebook. There was some things that I want too. But
yeah, you'll have to tell me which ones I need to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I've been holding out for buying any Blu-rays because, one, saving money, and two, just because we're moving. I just what am I going to do? I'll just pack up a bunch of more Blu-rays, I guess, for it. I haven't been able to watch a lot of Blu-rays here. Anyway, well, congratulations, and we'll talk more soon in the future.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Ciao for now.
Achieve. So, Josh, have you given any thought to a little discussion about corporate law?
Yeah, but I think I'd really like to check out environmental law.
What for? You want to have a miserable, frustrating life?
Oh, Josh will have that no matter what he does.
At least he knows what he wants to do, and he's in a good college. I'd like to see you have a little bit of direction.
I have direction.
Yeah, towards the mall.
Which reminds me, where's your report card?
It's not ready yet.
What do you mean it's not ready yet?
Well, some teachers were trying to lowball me, Daddy. And I know how you say never accept a first offer, so I figure these grades are just a jumping off point to start negotiations.
Really? You want to have a drink with me?
Well, we can't let you spend the entire holiday alone. We're not in school anymore, Rhonda. You don't have to feel you're not good enough for us now.
I don't.
If I feel you've changed, I'll tell you. I'm honest. Unlike some people, I tell it like it is.
The truth?
Yes?
I tell the truth, too. Nicole's having an affair with Chook. Muriel saw them fucking in the laundry on your wedding day. Stick your drink up your ass, Tanya. I would rather swallow razor blades than drink with you. Oh, by the way, I'm not alone. I'm with Muriel.
It's tough being a middle child.
You're a middle child. So am I.
Oh, well, then you know what it feels like, not being special.
What does she mean, I'm not special? Hey, she's just trying to help.
My family's not much. No kids. Though we do have a lot of livestock.
Jan!
Oh,
Jan! Don't listen to her.
In this day and age, if you're lucky enough to...
Who is that? It's me, the new Jan Brady. Let's knock over a 7-Eleven.